We're live, people. It is Friday night. It is a Pontificators night, and we are going to rock your world. We have a lot of information, new information, possibly for you guys. Mainly, there was not we, but Chris and Bleeding Fool has uncovered a Whisper network, and it is quite interesting. And basically, it's rocking the comic book world right now. And thanks to Todd and Chris, I think it was Wednesday, we actually broke the story. I mean, other than, Bleeding Cool, but as far as just live YouTubers, we got out there before anybody else. So we covered it. We got into it, but very superficially because we didn't have a lot of time because I was between other shows. And so we only had an hour. So I think tonight we'll be able to get into more detail. And then Chris will also be able to let us know possibly where some of this stuff may be going. I know he's not going to give away too much, but I believe I'm going to ask him real quick. How many parts is it? I know it's a multiple part expose, but how many parts is it going to be? Do you know?
Well, originally we were looking at 3. And so part 2 is due Tuesday. And we're going to get into a little more evidence. I just want to be very careful because I don't want to, I don't want us to get in trouble, obviously, but there is a lot that has been uncovered. And for the sake of just journalism and telling a story that I think needs to be told and shown to be told, we're proceeding. It looks like 3, it could be more. We've got a lot of material to go through, but
well, just what we went over Wednesday, and Joe went over very carefully the whole article, and it looked like it was trying to be very fair with it, and it was very concise. So it didn't seem like you guys were trying to start up any crap or anything like that. It really just seemed, for once, it seemed like responsible journalism, to be honest, in this comics industry. It was very well done. So. I do appreciate that. And I know there's been a lot of people that have speculated about this Whisper network for years now. So truly, man, hats off to you guys and your team for breaking this story and bringing it to light, because I do think this stuff is important, and we do need to talk about it. And then possibly what pontificators do is we talk things to death, but then we also try to come up with solutions and possible directions that we can take to move forward. So we will go over this, you guys. So if anybody's in the chat and doesn't know what we're talking about, we will have Joe, and he'll go over the article with you, and then we'll give you kind of a point of reference on it. But before I go too far, I want to introduce Todd Mulrooney, who is the AKA, he is the real Florida man. So how you been, Todd?
Doing really good. Things are, looking great in my sphere, so I'm real happy.
Look at Chester. What was that? It was like kind of.
I've been practicing my ninja hands, man.
Oh, those were ninja hands. Okay. Well, I like them. All right. So we already talked to Chris Browley a little bit, but just to introduce him, he is the man behind Bleeding Fool, and we are very, very honored to have him on this Pontificators chat tonight. And we're trying to expand a little bit and get different points of interest in. Also, I bet you guys are tired of hearing Chester just say the same thing over and over again.
I'm not.
So we're going to get different POVs tonight. So how are you, Chester, a.k.a. Cornelius Busby III?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I've had a very wet week, though, Art, and don't take that anywhere. But it's been really rainy here. Busy as usual. I work way too much. But hey, I make time for you, brother.
Thank you for us. And also, if you guys don't know, Chester, believe it or not, shapes young minds. He is an educator.
I am.
Yeah, believe it or not. And you know what? If you guys are on this show long enough, he'll probably correct your grammar once or twice. He corrects mine more than once or twice. All right, Joe. We got Joe Thunderbuns in the house. How have you been, my friend?
Oh, it's been an eventful week. My hot tub took a big dump, and we tried to get it. We tore apart the deck, tried to get some repairs going, but the parts are backed up for weeks, if not months, because of the whole beer bug problem. So that was a bummer. I won't be able to frolic nude under the pale moonlight in the hot tub for a while.
Don't you fucking hate that? Oh my god.
It's a bummer, but the good thing is that after cooking on gas grills for, I don't know, 25 years or so.
God.
Yeah, I got myself a nice wood-fired
Finally,
barbecue.
dude. How many cancers do you have from the propane products?
Ooh.
So
I have a
Jeez.
Traeger, huge Traeger. I love it.
that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
got.
very cool.
I got myself a Traeger, and so the last week I've been grilling almost every night, figuring out, the ins and outs of it and having a great time. And
Well, we just had my daughter. It was grilled. I love grilled corn. So it's corn, and there's like some kind of I don't know. There's spices in it that she puts in. I guess there's Spanish or Mexican spices. And then we had. I know this is probably not great for you, but chicken. Like they were like sliced chicken in like strips, wrapped in bacon. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Yeah, it was good. It was good stuff. Yeah. And there was some kind of cheese sprinkle on top. I don't know what she did, but it was delicious. So, do you guys want to get right into that? I guess maybe we should probably.
Yeah, I do. I'm planning on buying a Weber Summit grill soon. So I think it's a great conversation. I was also looking at the old country grills. Those are pretty cool. So I'm all with you, Joe.
You have fun with your charcoal.
Hey, no. You can do offset fire with it. That's why I'm buying the Summit, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're gonna barbecue out on your deck there?
I am.
Yeah.
Right here in the courtyard. It'll be great.
Yeah.
And I won't
Right
let the
on.
children touch it.
Is that next to the koi pond?
No, I don't have a koi pond. I could build one just for you, Todd, if you'd like.
Yeah.
Oh look. Oh wait. I gotta read.
My
this.
neighbor has a koi pond.
Oh well, congratulations, neighbor. You got the grill, so I think you scored. You can actually
did.
cook his koi in your grill.
Oh, koi
Ooh.
tastes horrible. Yeah, I tried it before. It's not good.
Oh,
No.
seriously? Did you prepare it? Was it when your
No,
neighbor?
someone else did.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
So-
how's it going? It's Sam Frost here.
So Norm says, "Whisper sweet nothings in our ear, Art." Okay. We got Roland in the house. For some reason, Albino doesn't talk to us on the show. He does all his talking through the stream.
it's because I'm bitter, Art. I'm sad. I'm bitter, and I think this pretty much says it all.
I just want. What is that? Because what does that say?
Brushable hair.
I just want brushable hair.
It's fair. It's fair.
All right.
I love it.
Fair.
Now, is that, Joe, is that Geeky Sparkles from Clownfish TV, or is that just?
It is. That's
It
one
is.
of that's one of her catchphrases. I ordered this mug off of Clownfish TV. So
Those guys.
yeah,
Oh,
the
that was
lovely-
what she was. Oh, that's what she was doing. Those damn doll reviews. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
Those are the best.
Yeah.
yeah. They
So
were funny.
Yeah, power to our sister over there on Clownfish TV.
TV.
Yeah, they're great people. They support me and this channel, so thank you guys. And also go support them. Sub if you haven't. And also they have a great merch site now, so you can get those mugs and you get T-shirts and all kinds of cool stuff. So
And they've really been hammering out some great Disney coverage the last couple of weeks. I was tempted to try and bring it up tonight, but we've got too much other stuff going on. So I'll just say, you guys, for your Disney coverage, Clownfish TV is where it's at.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they also-
TV on Twitter. Real Clownfish TV on Twitter.
yeah, and they also covered Chris's Bleeding Fool article, and they tied it into a bigger possible conspiracy as well. So go check that out right now. Not right now, but later.
Later. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have Todd. Hey, Pontificators. So we got a full house here. So hey, Joe, you want to jump right into this? I'll see if I can find the article, and then we can go over it and give people a point of reference. You want to do that?
Sure. And while you're bringing it up, Dillard Draws has a question for Chris.
People
He
a point of
said, Yeah, he said, "Where are the smoking guns? I read the whole article and I didn't see any smoking guns. If there's access to all the tweets, where is all the damning evidence?"
We have another couple of parts coming out. This was just to wet your whistle. This is just to sort of establish what's happening. So we didn't want to just blow our load, so to speak, with the first dump. But is that moist enough for you, Cornelius?
Okay, who's being sexual now, Chris? Oh.
Yeah, that was pretty gross, Chris. Actually,
Okay, sorry. No, we didn't want to blow our load. I think that's really a legit.
Yeah, no.
Say. And,
well, when you hold back, it makes it that much better. When you actually do. So
yeah, that's what I hear.
That's
I think it's better, Chris, if you let me handle the sexy time.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna zip it up. Let's just.
So
Well, wait. You know why Chester says that? Because Chester gets us banned from YouTube. That's why.
Hey, everyone's got skills.
Everyone's got skills. You got mad skills.
Todd and I got banned from YouTube 2 hours ago, didn't we, Todd?
I just read that a little while ago. I wasn't aware of it until then, but what did we do?
We didn't do anything. We were Florida man shills got canned again.
Yeah, you don't have to do much of anything these days to get banned. But actually, that Pontificators, it wasn't last week, but the week before, the Friday before, that show got nuked. You guys, it doesn't exist. It's not in my history. It's nowhere, man. It's actually just dust. And then I heard that Dan Fraga, his whole channel was nuked. Like there's no trace of it at all.
Really?
A few days ago, yeah.
That's
why. He draws doodles. It's the Couch Doodle Show. What the hell?
Yeah, I'm still unclear as to whether it was a YouTube bot that got him or if somebody complained to YouTube. So I'm not sure. But Dan did create a new channel. It's called Fragaboom with an exclamation point.
Yeah.
Go stop that. Help him build it back up. I mean, it's hard to build these channels, you guys. It really is frustrating. You get one sub, you lose two. It just goes back and forth, and it's really hard to build. And Dan had built a really successful platform there, so it's really horrible when this happens. And I don't know if it is the Whisper Network or what's going on here, but I think with the Trump and all the stuff that's going on right now, we can all expect more of this kind of behavior, I'm afraid to say. So let's do this, Joe. Let me screen share, and we should give people a point of reference here, and also just tip the hat to Bleeding Full and Chris and his compadres over there for doing good journalism. Okay,
yeah. Thank you very much. We don't get accused of that very often.
Well, you're getting accused tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, get ready to hear that accusation a few more times in the next few weeks.
All right. Hey, how do you like those ads? They don't pop up, do they? Because that's one thing that I've insisted on. No pop-ups.
Well, it's
they're just there.
Yeah, they're not popping up, so we're good.
All right. Thank you.
So at Bleeding Fool earlier this week, we had this article by Penny Parker, and she essentially was able to infiltrate this secret Facebook group, Women in Comics, which is the aforementioned Whisper Network. And to give anybody who hasn't been following this story for the past few days, essentially it was a group of comic book professionals who had this. It's not just a private group on Facebook. It was secret, so you couldn't see it even if you searched for it. You had to have someone who was in the group invite you specifically to join.
Joe, I would like to say something about that too. I think there's some confusion about the difference between a private and a secret group. A private group, you can find it. You can find closed groups that you have to make a request to join, but this, you cannot find it unless you are a member, and you cannot join it unless, number one, you've been invited, and number two, you've been approved by one or more of the moderators. Now, I've got news about who a couple of the moderators are that's coming out, but they will be names you recognize. And I just wanted to highlight that this is a secret group. Closed groups are something that businesses use all the time, and private groups, I'm a member of a private group. Start your Google searches, ladies.
Yeah.
But the secret group is its own special thing. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I just wanted to highlight that, Joe.
Oh yeah, Chris, feel free to join in at any time, because that's pretty much what I was hoping for. So Joe can kind of give us the crux, and then you can fill out some details or some gaps that aren't quite here in the article itself. So
I'm sorry, I missed that first part. Is Mike Miller a moderator? What?
No, wait a second.
I think Mike's got his own set of problems. He doesn't need any. Poor Mike.
Joe loved that one.
I love Mike.
Oh,
I do.
I like Mike
too. I like everybody. All right, let's keep going.
All right. So, Art, if you don't mind scrolling down to where it says, "Then things got interesting."
Yeah, we can give more of a highlight too. There it is.
Yeah. So essentially, the writer Penny is talking about how she.
Well, wait, just to back up, like what these women are doing is they're basically plotting on how to hurt certain people and target certain people in the industry, basically get them canceled and other things. And it seems like mostly they're going after the white male agenda. So just to kind of help flesh it out in case you guys don't know.
Okay, so where I had Art scroll through was essentially the setup for the article, saying that Penny had become aware of this group and over the course of a couple of years heard more and more about it, but could never find any real details, and then somehow was able to become part of the group. And so throughout this article, there are screenshots from the Facebook group. And what might be a little bit confusing when you go through this for the first time is that you'll see some stuff from Twitter, such as this screenshot from Gail Simone. And so what you got to try and keep in mind is that there were moderators in this Facebook group who would take screenshots of Twitter and post it to their secret group. Then the writer of the article, Penny, took screenshots of that Facebook group. So here's an example of Gail Simone saying, making this ha funny comment. Yes, it's part of our Whisper campaign, according to doofuses. Mm-hmm. So here she is denying that it exists, essentially. And here's another one. Today's Whisper campaign topics. Obviously, she's mocking the idea that there's a Whisper campaign while being part of it. And we'll see proof of that as we go through the article.
And do you think that, let's just say Gail, because Gail does tell some, not so funny jokes. The other day when this news broke, I think she posted about 150 tweets about putting a tea kettle in a microwave or something. I have no idea what she was going on about, but it just seemed she was burying all the information that came out. I don't know if anybody was following the hashtag the other day, but if you were following any of the people that got mentioned in this article, you saw some interesting social media activity.
I wish you would have buried Plastic Man's bulge. That would have been nice.
His plastic bulge.
Plastic Woman, wasn't it at the time?
Yes.
Or was he not identifying? Whatever. Yeah.
All right, so we have Heather Antos here in March 26, 1919 or 2019. So you get to see a progression also, you guys, in time. So this is kind of putting it in a timeline, so
right?
You kind of follow it.
Yeah, and Penny does a great job of showing. And in the article, if you decide to read it on your own, you'll see that Penny at first was skeptical of this group's existence. She'd heard many stories of individuals spreading rumors, telling lies, so on and so forth. And she knew that there was a lot of bad behavior going on behind the scenes, but she wasn't quite ready to believe that there was an actual conspiracy of people doing this kind of stuff and targeting specific individuals within the industry who would be their peers.
Right.
Mhm.
So then she says that she noticed that they started openly talking about the Whisper campaign. And here we have in spring of 2019, where Heather Antos, now this, I think is open to interpretation. You could either say this is just good business advice, or if you happen to know about the Whisper Network, or you're a member of Women in Comics, or you've been targeted by them, then I think this is designed to tell you, hey, I've got my eye on you, and so do my girls in the Women in Comics group. So,
Straighten up,
toe the line.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Heather, God bless her. She, bless her heart. She is frequently post tweets that are very revealing about where she's coming from and what her thoughts are on things. I know she was allegedly a victim of a really mean and nasty tweet. I feel like her every day, so I share her pain with getting mean and nasty tweets. She is the milkshake queen herself that was at Marvel, and she tells bad taste jokes and so on. But Richard Meyer kind of took her to the woodshed a few times with his own thoughts about things, and Richard or at least back in the day, was a pretty crude fellow. But this has got nothing to do with Richard. Richard didn't make her make these veiled threats and say these things that she does, and she frequently mocks comic book fans that don't agree with her hot takes. And her hot takes a lot of times they just stink. Now maybe it's because we don't share the same philosophy, but she was one of those people that at least once a week it's a tweet that I'm like, oh gosh, you didn't go there. It's just gross behavior. Now you're right though, Joe. She might just be giving business advice, but don't be a dick. I mean, I know she's not talking about a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. She's an entitled, talentless hack, and she always has been. Now, unlike Gail Simone, who actually has skill.
Sure,
Gail absolutely has skill. Just like that. What's the one that was doing Wonder-Woman there for a while, Joe? She's a meanie too, but she's talented.
Kelly Sue DeConnick.
So yeah, DeConnick. Yeah, there's another one that's got some talent, but she's nasty. But this one here, this Antos girl, she's just a pair of tits and ass walking around, and a bunch of drooling nerds gave her a job.
Who invited Richard to this?
Exactly.
Goodness. Wow.
Yeah, Richard, and I think Richard did try to make amends for some of the things that he said early on.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So we can all say things in the moment. Obviously, we just heard Chester.
I won't apologize.
No, I'm not asking you to. Dude, I don't want you to. Like, also, everybody has to understand we're all different people. We all have opinions.
Right.
And you know what I mean? We don't have to agree with everybody's opinions, but we don't have to get people canceled, and we don't have to give people heads up not to be a dick either. You know what I mean? Like we can just live and let live and move on and just go, well, I don't like that person, or whatever. But that's not what this is about. That's not what this Whisper Network is about. So now we have Alex DeCampi. So we're at now we're 2020. We're in this year. So you want to keep going, Joe?
Yeah. So as time goes on, they're now being a little more open, and we've got Alex here in January of 2020. So about 9 months later or so. And there are more examples of this, but obviously in the article, you don't want it to be just a long vertical column of screenshots. So,
right.
If you read the article, you'll see that Penny writes in between these screenshots, and you get more context. So I do recommend reading the article.
This is very well put together, and it does read it almost reads like just a great story. You know, like when you're going down and you're scrolling, you get like context, you get narrative, and then you get actual dialogue. You know, so it's like a good story the way it unfolds.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good. I think what is important about what you said, Art, is we can disagree. And at least among men, we can rib each other, or we can have disputes, and we can have disagreements, and not even share the same religion, faith, philosophy, outlook, point of view, and get along. You know, I remember going to the local comic shop or just sitting around with my friends and arguing which band was better. Could Hulk beat the Superman? And some people really digging their heels in. I agree with you, Chester. But and getting mad about stuff, right? I mean, I've had in high school a guy go out with my ex-girlfriend, right? And we're friends. I don't even remember her name now. So, but this is gross behavior. This is, I don't agree with you. You made me angry. And not only am I going to try to shame you, I'm going to try to send my flying monkeys after you. I'm going to try to get Dynamite not to hire you anymore. And in fact, if Dynamite won't acquiesce to the way I think about certain things, I'm going to get those flying monkeys to tear down Dynamite, and we're going to just boycott you. That's, to me, that's the gross behavior, because let's talk about privilege for a minute. If any men had posted any of these tweets, the public stuff, okay? I don't care about the private stuff, but the public stuff. If any of this had been posted by a Jim Lee, a Joe Quesada, much less Richard Meyer or Ethan Van Sciver or Art T. Bear or Billy Tucci, anybody, Todd Mulrooney, it would be handled a whole lot different. But Alex DeCampi, you'll see some of the things that she posts here right in the public that I don't think she gets any pushback for. And
yeah, I think she's the boldest out of this group, definitely.
Mm-hmm. At least publicly. Yeah.
Publicly, yeah.
Yeah. So in January of this year, she goes from, the joking about, or the mocking the idea that it exists, goes to Alex saying, she's referring to somebody saying that, he's been verboten on the Whisper Network for years. Time to stop whispering and start shouting. So,
yeah, this is a call to arms right here.
Yeah, it's time to escalate things.
Yeah.
Well, I love how these neo-Nazis use German words all the time.
That's funny. That's good.
And I really did a lot to share this out there, obviously. And I just want to say this to anyone that's listening. Look, read it.
Yeah.
Don't act like, oh, it's a bunch of nothing. It's not. It's the beginning of something. And to act like, for instance, even though he, even if Richard Meyer apologized, whatever, all he did do was call some people names from his YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. That is not a reason to go after his livelihood. Call him names back or say prove it. But you don't collude and so encircle this whole thing to death and act like he's a monster. Yeah. Because that's not I'm so tired of people. Every time you get into sort of a SJW fight, you get people come at you with, oh, don't you remember this and that? And it's nothing but a hate. Prove it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to fight what's in the article with me on any post I have, fine. Pick your point and fight it. But don't just simp for them.
Yeah.
Because they're fucking pure evil.
Yeah, now you've got a lot of white knights that came out the day or so after this article that were saying, oh, look, girls talk privately about people who harass them. And this is not really that. Maybe read the article and let's look at it again. And it's difficult to make the argument that if this had been Cullen Bunn posting, there are creators. I'll remind you guys of an article I wrote 2 years ago, last month, 2 years ago. It was called Dealing with the PC Culture That's Infested Comic Book Culture. And back then, there were a few girls. Gabby Rivera was on there. I think Mags Masaggio was talking about her dental plan, the baseball dental plan back then.
Yeah.
But you also had guys like Daryl Io. You had guys like David F. Walker. You had guys like Kier Andrews, who were saying some of the most vile things I had ever read. I mean, honestly, guys like Avi Green, Captain Frugal, Doug Ernst were pointing this out 3-4 years ago. The way Dan Slott has stalked people. Go ahead.
Engeltine too.
Engeltine too. Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people. So it's just sort of, I'm not the pioneer here. I'm not a pioneer in showing what's going on, but I think that for whatever reason, the women tend to get treated with kid gloves. Now, there are certain women like Bonvillain, Visaggio, Simone, who have made names for themselves that people aren't really afraid to hold the mirror up. But here's the thing. We're not attacking these women. Penny is really just sort of laying out the evidence and setting the table. But all we're doing is holding a mirror up and saying, look what you said. This is what it seems like you said. If you said something different, if you meant something different, just respond. You know, if any of these women emailed me, tweeted me, or wanted to have to say their part or to explain these things, I'd be happy to listen to it. I actually got an email just today from another woman who pretty much just confirms everything about this story, and even that she had been invited to be in the group. And I'm not going to say, I'm not going to give any of these women's names away. I understand why guys like Captain Frugal or guys like Engeltine or guys like that umbrella guy don't give their names out. Okay. Our website was massively attacked the following day with traffic spikes that were unheard of, but they were just brief spikes. We typically have, anywhere from 40, 50 to a couple hundred people on the website at any time. But these were massive, and it knocked our website down. And I don't know that that was a coordinated attack from this Whisper network. But just like somebody said earlier, simping, I'm stunned at the guys that, Milady, when there's no benefit to it other than you looking like what Todd said, a simp.
I get you. I hear you guys loud and clear. Wink, wink. I should soften my terminology toward the Miss Antos. I get it. Wink, wink again. And let's see. She has nice tits.
And you know what? I just want to say something. I really do enjoy milkshakes. They're delicious.
I do.
Yeah.
I love milkshakes. My doctor hates them, but I love them. Yes.
Okay. How many are down with like strawberry milkshakes, or am I the only one? Oh, there we go.
God, you people. It's got un-American. Get out of here. Strawberry.
It's not my first choice, but okay. I like it.
Well, there's strawberry, chocolate, and vanilla, right? I mean, those are.
No, there's coffee.
Yeah,
coffee ice cream and coffee shakes are the only actual.
Cookies and cream isn't bad.
No. All right. Fine. But certainly not strawberry.
You guys had to go with these exotic, like milkshakes. Fine.
Cream.
I come from the state where coffee ice cream was created. So, I have to represent.
Did you say the state? You don't live in a state.
Well, no. When I grew up, was born and raised in Rhode Island, and that's where coffee ice cream comes from.
Oh, you mean when you were American?
Yeah, at that point. Yeah.
Are you an expat? You're not here anymore.
Oh God, I swear, I'll come right through this camera.
Chris,
I don't know the inside jokes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chester
That's okay.
In Japan right now.
Good for him. Cool. Okay, that's cool.
He's shaping little Japanese minds how to be an American.
I am. Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you.
So you do you guys want to cut to the chase with the article, or do you want to go back to the article?
Yeah,
well, we can right to it.
Yeah, we can just kind of hit the high points here. So this is where I think it really starts to get blatant. Where you had it, Art, with Stephanie Cook, June of this year. And talking about whisper networks are not enough. They only protect people in the know enough to talk to people with insider knowledge. We need to do better at driving people out of the industry.
Wow. This is driving people out of the industry. If Stephanie Cook knew how just that line, just those words if they were brought into action, how devastating this could be on people's careers. You know, like if somebody made an attack on me, I have 35 years invested in this industry, a lifetime. And if somebody tried to cancel me, I don't know what the hell I would do. I don't know how I would take care of my family. You know what I mean? Like this is some serious shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing is just like any name calling, because if you click on that image, you can go to the archived version of her Twitter thread, and she starts to qualify what she's saying because she's talking about other predators. But the thing is calling people predators, calling people Nazis, calling people racist, just making public accusations of loaded names like that. I mean, you can call somebody a dick or shitty, I guess, but calling them things that are just that ugly, those are the things that affect people's livelihood, just like you said, Art. And it doesn't stop here because
let me interject for a moment. So she said, stop working with predators and people harassing and abusing others. Yeah. Well, the reason these are problematic is because they have a different definition on what these things are than the average, normal, decent human being. You know what I mean? Because most of these companies have HR, they have checks and balances, right. And there's places that you can go to if there is a predator or that somebody is harassing you or mistreating you. So most corporations and companies have checks and balances already built into the fabric of their company. So Stephanie, if somebody is mistreating somebody, take it to HR, deal with it like a normal human being. Don't go behind somebody's back and try to get them canceled, because that, my friend, is very, very dangerous. And if you think you are doing the right thing, right? Like, let's just say that they actually do believe they're doing the right thing. By going about canceling somebody in these ways is very, very problematic. And you're not going to win over hearts, and you're not going to get anywhere with your, like if they genuinely are trying to do good, they're not going to get anywhere with this because their definition is so broad. You know what I mean? Like, What are these things? What is this predatory activity? What are people doing? What is harassment? I hear like feminists talking about like he raped me with his gaze. Well, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I saw one the other day, Art, where the woman said, if you're having a dream about a man more than once that you don't want to be with, he is manifesting himself into your dreams. That's harassment. And I'm like, are you a lunatic? Is there any checks, and are there any checks and balances for this? Because listen, I respect Stephanie. She runs Creator Resource, which is a great website. We've highlighted it on Bleeding Fool before, but she goes on and says maybe to help the comics industry and make the community safer, you should pass on your abuse story, or that you think this person's a harasser, to the convention organizers. So in other words, if they decide that Art T-Bear is a harasser of women, and all they're going to do is they're going to go to your schedule on your website, and then they're just going to start calling and harassing the convention organizers. And that's how organizers can do. They're going to fold like a cheap lawn chair these days. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well, if I might interject and have a serious moment, which I'm allowed once or twice a stream, by the way.
All right, this will be your first.
Yeah. Thank you. So, you know, first of all, if she's a woman is dreaming about a man more than once, well, she wants him, you know, so let's be done with that. But the actual point I'm making, it actually is interesting to me because they're incredibly inept. Because right now, cancel culture is at its absolute crescendo. People are getting fired for simply liking tweets.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And yet they're not even, capitalizing on it. Now, I'm not, maybe I shouldn't give them the hint, but they could be doing way more than they're doing right now. So it shows you how absolutely useless these people actually are. They're not even capitalizing on their opportunity.
I mean, if you're going to get busted, you might as well go big or go home.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You'll see, Joe, later in the story, one of these young ladies that's a freelancer for Marvel actually was sending her flying monkeys after the CEO of Dynamite because he liked or did a super chat in somebody's YouTube channel that she didn't like.
How dare he?
I mean, this is gross, guys. This is disgusting. Could you imagine any of us saying, "Oh, Tamara Bond villain went and liked a YouTuber I don't like. Drag her." I mean, come on. This is petty.
You know, the interesting thing about that, Chris, is that Dynamite shout out, that super chat was on Ethan's channel. And of course, it shows you how big Ethan's gotten, because Dynamite was trying to get a shout out read on the stream to try to promote some business. That's crazy, right?
Well, and let me say this, I climbed the pump about a week ago, Sunday. This was a couple of days before the Whisper Network story came out. And I gave everybody about 4 days. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody bigger than me, which is everybody. And all the other news outlets like Games Radar, formerly known as Newsarama, Comic Book Resources, comicbook.com, Hollywood Reporter, you name it. Anybody that ever does news stories that involve comics. And nobody was reporting that Cyber Frog issue number 2 in its campaign had just passed $1 million.
I know this is groundbreaking stuff, and nobody,
nobody, you know this already, but for your list or for your viewers that maybe don't, if you go to CBR's forums and you mention Jawbreakers or Richard Meyer or Ethan Van Sciver, insta-ban. You're gone. You're gone. The Ministry of Truth does not want this information out there. And the question really is, why? Do they think that they're going to shape the minds of the comic-going public? Do they think that the very title Jawbreakers is going to pollute the minds of the readers, that the people haven't already kind of made up their mind about Richard Meyer and they can't have open dialogue back and forth? We get some very salty comments on our Bleeding Fool website, the Internet Journal, down in the comments section at the bottom. But you know, the whole impetus for Bleeding Fool is because Bleeding Cool would shadow ban people who had comments and points of view that they didn't agree with. If the moderators didn't agree with you, and I'm talking guys that think like Joe Glass and Rich Johnston. If you didn't think like then and you made comments down in the, I'll tell you the comment that I made. It's actually in that article that I shared with Joe, that PC culture. I got canceled over there because it was another article about, praise diversity. Inclusion is all that matters in comics. That's what we need more of today. And I said, isn't it interesting that back in the Bronze Age, when X-Men 94 came out, nobody was talking about diversity and inclusion. And that was probably one of the most diverse superhero teams that ever hit the scene. And it was instantly popular because Chris Claremont knew how to tell a story and make great characters. And they had great character designs. I said, why do we have to do that now? Why do we have to dumb everything down and explain what we're doing instead of just telling good stories? And nobody liked that comment, and nobody replied to that comment. I thought, oh, that's strange, because I was really kind of patting myself on the back for that one. And I logged out, and sure enough, I'd been shadow banned.
Yeah, logic and common sense don't apply anymore. It's just
freedom of speech. It's just freedom of speech, Art. Why can't we all just talk?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these problems never existed. I've been doing this. I've been in this business for over 35 years, and I'm just looking at this Comic Book Women private group, 443 members. Okay, they like to say they're marginalized. So how big do they think the industry is? That's 443 women that I assume are all in comic books, or somehow write articles about comics or have something to do with comics peripherally.
Well,
so
some of them, just to stop you, I want you to go back there right where you're going, Art, for sure, because that is a big number. But some of those women are independent creators, independent writers. Heidi McDonald, who runs Comics Beat. But it's not necessarily artists and writers that are working professionally. But
right.
That's a number. That's a big number.
I realize that, but they all have something to do with comic books in some way, I would imagine. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be part of this group if they didn't have some kind of influence on the industry. But the point is, and we talk about this a lot on the Pontificators program, this idea that the comics industry hates women and mistreats women and tries to not work with them and not hire them, and it's a man's, whatever. The thing is, comic book superhero stuff is these are young male, fantasies. I mean, they just are, you guys. Yeah. But they never ever said we are excluding people from this. They never ever made these statements. So if women wanted to enjoy Spider-Man, they could. You know what I mean? It wasn't that kind of exclusive club. And I will say this in all honesty, that I worked for just as many women. They were my boss as far as editorial and as far as running corporations. When I got my first job at DC Comics, Jeanette Kahn ran DC Comics. Yep. You know what I mean? Like that's running the entire company. So, I don't know where
she didn't get hired because she was a woman. She's capable. She was a capable woman.
Yeah, it made sense. She was hired based on merit, and she got the job, and then she proved that she could hold the job and that she could excel at it. Yep. And that's all anybody really should be. And just to even back up further, like when I broke into comics, I didn't even know anybody's background because we didn't have the internet. We didn't know what anybody's religion was. We didn't even know what they looked like. We didn't know, what ethnic background. And some of these, like some of the women had male type names. So I didn't even know if they were women or men, half the time. So I don't know where this discrimination comes from or where it came from. I'm sure some women were mistreated in the industry, but I think if you interview guys, I have a lot of these stories too, where I was shit upon by editors or by corporations and companies and things like that. So I think that's just the way life is. Yeah. But if you want to look at it in a microcosm and just like with blinders on, then you can go, well, it was because I was a woman. But what's my excuse? What's my fallback when I got fired from, Marvel Comics? Where's my story? Right. I can't fall back and go, well, it was because, I was a woman, or it was some kind of discriminatory, firing. I don't have that. You know what I mean? So I do think that this is problematic because for me and somebody who's been in this industry for the length of time I've never seen this. I'm not saying that there isn't, there aren't sexist guys or even sexist women that, go around and say, why don't you get me some coffee, honey? And, like this type of behavior. I'm not saying that doesn't exist or hasn't existed, but the discrimination and the anger that's coming out of the comic book women in this Whisper network, I don't even know where they're coming from. And also, a lot of these women that are angry and part of this group are working professionals. So how did the industry shit on them? You know what I mean? How did the industry shit on Gail Simone? She's a powerful writer. How did
the industry shit on Mags Visaggio? She used to identify as a boy, and she just had a full season of her own creation on the Sci-Fi Channel, Vagrant Queen, and is doing work for Marvel. The reunion of not reunion, but the revival of Dazzler, one of my favorite '80s characters. So I don't know if marginalized is the right word. I almost feel like privilege is the word of the day, because I'm getting attacked for showing these things that these women have done. But you know what? Nobody said anything 2 years ago when I was pointing out that Tom Brevoort was calling Marvel fanboys misogynist crybabies over Squirrel Girl. Or that Rob Sheridan was saying that Vertigo is making books that just aren't for you.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Squirrel Girl was turned into a Down syndrome girl. That is unacceptable. And it is, I do believe, some men are prejudiced.
You're so able.
Do yourself a favor and Google the Japanese covers for Squirrel Girl. They Art Germ style almost. They're
I know. Yeah. It's awesome stuff. I love Art Germ. But they do all kind of crazy things like that. Mags is a very interesting character. I agree. Mags has been given a lot of opportunity, and some of them have, to be fair, have been given opportunity and they've shown a little growth, right? Others haven't. Mags being one of them. Right. Mags is a very untalented person.
Yeah.
And this is just objectively untalented.
Yeah.
Aside from all the things that is said. And I don't understand why this.
There was no Comicsgate boycott of Vagrant Queen on Sci-Fi. It just got the lowest ratings in the history of that network, and
because it sucked bad.
Exactly. So let's let these things rise and fall on their merit, right? And if somebody says some salty things, you can either ignore them or address them directly. But what they're doing here is they're trying to cancel people. And I don't think it was Dynamite Entertainment that got Vagrant Queen canceled. That was the merit of the work. So deal with it.
Exactly.
Very good point by Leg Kick One over here. That's a great point.
Well, go ahead and read it because I can't go back, or I can, but since you can see it right now, why don't you go ahead and read it?
Stan Lee always said, "Do not talk down to your audience, no matter how old they are."
Yeah. There you go. There you go. And don't bring agenda into it because nobody appreciates to be preached to. No. That used to be a common denominator too. Is like nobody likes to be preached to. And in the day, I remember as a kid going, "Man, that's really heavy-handed. That message was way too nail on the head." And then you kind of reject it just based on that it was kind of preachy, right? Yeah. And now it almost seems like it's the norm, you know. It's so
when I saw Nightcrawler eating a hot dog and saying it tastes like bigotry, I'm like, who wrote this garbage?
Mustard and bigotry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the correction.
And no, Booster, Mags is not steampunk. Mags would be post-apocalyptic.
Okay, so this is some of the members here. So you want to continue, Joe?
Sure. So, what we've got here is a progression from pretending like the Whisper Network comic book women did not exist to Art. If you want to scroll down to where it says comic book women, and then it has the list of, the list of some of the members and their avatars in a vertical column. And it says private group, 443 members.
Is that this, or is it further down? Is it further down? Is it this right here?
You're not sharing your screen.
I'm not sharing.
You're not sharing. No, you're not.
Oh my God.
Oh, so Boomer fails.
Sorry about that, man. That's horrible. That is really disgustingly bad. Okay, so
nope, wrong. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that, you guys.
Yeah. So if you scroll up just a tad, Art, so that the chat can. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. So the chat can see it says Comic Book Women private group, 443 members. And now if we scroll down just a bit, we see Gail Simone, writer DC Comics, Zoe Quinn, Alex DeCampi, Magdalene Francis, who is Magdalene Visaggio, Heidi McDonald, writer and editor-in-chief at the Comics Beat, Tamara Bonvillain. We've got Margaret Scott, or maybe it's Margaret Scott, as one of the admins.
Yeah.
So these are just you guys may have seen some tweets from these ladies over the last few years. And so I wanted to make a note that it says 443 members. Now, that doesn't mean that 443 people who act like Alex DeCampi or Mags Visaggio or Gail Simone, but it does indicate that there's almost 500 women in comics just in this one private Facebook group, let alone the entire industry.
That's what I was trying to get at. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if we scroll down a little bit,
I could name 500 guys in comics right now.
So if we scroll down a little bit further to where it says key actors.
Where is that?
A little bit further down.
Here. Just some
there you go.
Names. Yeah, here we go.
And it says from Penny, the writer, she says, there's too many people to focus on at once, so I'll have to break this into several posts. But I'll start with one of the clear group leaders, in my opinion. And she focuses on Alex DeCampi, who, despite never being part of the Big Two, quote, since from what I've been told, management is well aware of her bullying, harassment, rumor spreading, and unethical behavior that goes back years. And depending on who you talk to, she's almost as notorious as Antos or Tess Fowler, unquote. So she clearly has a lot of influence in the industry despite never working for the Big Two. And Art, if you scroll down just a bit to her post there, thank you. She says on June 2020, June 30th, it looks like, so about a week and a half ago, comics publishers need an independent, dedicated HR person who victims can confidentially and safely approach when their freelancers harass colleagues and fans. I'm going to say that again. When their freelancers harass colleagues and fans, much like Alex DeCampi or Gail Simone or Max Visaggio or any other number, Heather Antos, any other number of ladies who were in this secret Facebook group.
And to be honest, some of these companies, like I know Marvel doesn't have necessarily a dedicated HR, but they do have a hierarchy. They do have people that you could go to and you can, stake your or say your piece and and basically they can look into it. So there are like checks and balances within these companies. There might not be a dedicated HR, but I'm pretty sure DC Comics, since they're Warner Brothers and they're way more corporate and above board than Marvel Comics is, to be honest, I'm sure they do. So if you do have a problem with an editor or the treatment, I'm sure there's somebody that you could talk to that could look into it on your behalf.
Yeah, I mean, the big two, even if you're a freelancer, there's still a chain of command. So, and Art, you've worked for both companies, and would you not agree that you've got an editor, a group editor, your editor-in-chief, and it goes on up the line. So, like you say, if let's say you have a problem with your editor, you could still go to your group editor or the editor-in-chief to express your concern, or the publisher even.
And
right?
I have done that, and I've only done it once. And I'm not going to name his name, and he's no longer at DC Comics. And to be honest, I don't understand why this guy even had a job. But he was making my life a living hell, even though I was trying to appeal to him as a human being. Like, neither one of us are getting paid a lot of money here, so let's have some fun, right? So even when I said that to him, it was just like he just doubled down on his anger. So I finally did. I made a call to Bob Harris, and I had Bob Harris look into that. And just to show you, how things worked out, I did get moved to another book. So they did listen, and, things were taken care of. So these things do exist. You can go to people and you can air complaints. I'm not saying that they always work out in your benefit, but if you do have a claim, there are places that you can talk. I can't really say that much about Marvel. Marvel is a little bit more corrupt. So if Alex DeCampi or somebody did have a problem with Marvel, I can't honestly speak that they do have, somebody that would listen and try to help you out.
Art, if I could just jump in real quick here, though. Sure. Let's camp out right here for a second. So comic publishers need an independent, dedicated HR person who victims can confidently and safely approach when their freelancers harass colleagues and fans. Now, you do remember in 2018, they made a big to-do about DC Comics coming out with a social media policy so that their creators wouldn't harass fans and make some other comments. Do you remember when that came out?
Yeah, I got one of those emails. Yeah, I got one of those emails.
And a whole bunch of these SJWs were like, what? You can't do that. You can't stop my freedom of expression. And that was when I think Aubrey Sitterson was doing G.I. Joe.
Yep.
There was a lot of fallout. Yeah, that still amuses me. Go ahead, Chester.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
G.I. Jane.
And you remember when Alterna Comics put out theirs, and he actually had one or two creators say, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to work for you anymore. You're stifling my freedom of expression," or whatever. Well, if you go back and look in Bleeding Fools archives, or you go back to old Ethan Van Sciver when he was getting his tweets, the Bungholio tweets. Or McCone, or any people were out there putting out the some of the most hateful, vile, grossest things you've ever seen.
Yeah.
To me, that's harassment. To me, that's harassing colleagues and fans. And here, Alex DeCampi suddenly wants some sort of policing going on. But when Bleeding Fools tries to do an article about it to sort of police, which really is what I hope comes from all this, is that people start to reflect and go, you know what, that was pretty shitty behavior. Maybe I need to, kind of dial that back a little bit, or at least handle it privately and not on a social media platform. That's all. It just makes me sick that this is the hypocrisy of the hypocalypse, that's going on. That's really what this whole thing is shining a light on.
Yeah, they say they want something. What I was trying to say is that it already exists, Alex DeCampi. It depends on the company you work for, but you can complain to your higher ups and things can get resolved. But if you're making things up or you're exaggerating points, then of course nothing's really going to come from it. And that's what a lot of times does happen, where they're exaggerating things and sometimes just completely fabricating things to get people canceled.
People are innocent until proven guilty. I mean, they should be innocent until proven guilty. And just to slap some tweets like Alex does later with Max Bemis, and believe me, Max Bemis, we're no fans of his either. He has said some of the most disgusting thing to fans and critics too. But just to slap a bunch of direct messages out and say, this is what this means, cancel this man, that's gross. That's
why I'm I am kind of in agreement. Like, let's handle things through HR, because then, maybe, we can hear both sides, and then you can have a third party that can chime in and kind of, But if there's no checks and balances, then it is cancel culture. And just because Alex DeCampi says it, then it actually happens. And as we're finding out, and I agree with you, Chris, that's why I really wanted to have you on and talk about this, is because the reason I like Comicsgate and the reason I'm here is one, freedom of expression. I can do comic books, and it makes sense. There's a great fan base here and stuff, but also just to try to get some kind of balance. I don't care if Alex DeCampi speaks her piece. I don't care, if these people have a point of view that's opposite of mine. I don't care. But don't try to hurt me in an unfair way. These are unfair. These whispered networks trying to get people canceled, using some kind of social justice as a way to legitimize getting people canceled. I'm not down with that. Let the truth speak for itself. If there is something unfair, Alex DeCampi, bring it up and let people decide for themselves whether it's fair or not.
And don't take it for a public opinion like this either. Take it to the people who are in a position to do something about it. This is just, this, like you say, it's cancel culture.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate your guys' common sense, but I don't know if you've noticed that these people, let's call them the collective left, are grinding the post, not writing it. They do not care what you think. Up is down, left is right, and nothing matters. You can talk about sensible discord. You could talk about HR and professionalism. It doesn't matter. It's way past the pale. It's got to the point past the pale that I can't go a day without hearing some news program talking about civil war in America.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I appreciate the common sense, but you do realize you're not talking to sensible people. You're talking to lunatics.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say something to that, is that I know we're not going to get through to Alex DeCampi. I understand that completely, but there are people that are not thinking for themselves, and they're virtue signaling by thinking that, if a woman says this, then she's speaking from some kind of experience, and that we should believe her because society, hasn't really been on women's side, when X, Y, and Z has happened. So I think it's kind of like, I don't want to get into Black Lives Matter, but it's like there's an overcompensation. There's like, we can't question their points of view now because it's a woman, or it's a black person, or marginalized individual. So they're somehow untouchable now. And trust me, people are people, and they're going to use that to empower themselves in the worst of ways. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we all know from a personal experience that women never lie.
That is completely true.
It is very true. The interesting statistic comes up to me when I keep hearing this: listen to women, listen and believe, listen, listen, listen. When the simple fact of the matter is 95% of all rape accusations are proven to be wrong. 95%.
Thank you for that statistic, sir.
All right,
It's telling, isn't it?
Yeah. Let's move forward. Okay, Joe. The spotlight's on you now. You're doing a great job, by the way, Joe.
Oh, thank you, sir. I try.
You're kicking ass.
So, how about if we go down to Alex DeCampi's Twitter post of May 13th, 2018?
Okay, so we're kind of going back in time a little bit here.
So she says, yeah, so this is to the secret group again. This was not public. And I'm going to paraphrase it for those who are listening and not watching. She says, hey, folks, so apparently Richard Meyer's graphic novel Jawbreakers is going to be distributed by Simon & Schuster. I have all those folks on mute for sanity reasons, but if anyone finds out more details on this, please let me know so I can talk to my folks at Simon & Schuster and try to stop that from happening. Though, if you've sailed through the weekend blissfully unaware of this comics' latest trash fire, do not go back and Google it. It's not worth it. Just turds being turds. Now, for those who have been following the Mark Waid, Jawbreakers, Antarctic Press debacle, this may sound familiar. This may sound like somebody who's interested in trying to break up the business deal of someone else.
Which is, by the way, breaking laws, but go ahead.
Yeah, in the courtrooms, they call that tortious interference.
They do. They actually do.
Imagine if somebody had a screenshot of Richard Meyer saying this about any female creator that he did.
Holy shit, Chris! Yeah, that would be cancel culture on a level we've never seen before.
That's right.
Now, what I'm wondering is if Mr. Chris here is going to be coming up in one of his further exposés with a certain tweet from a certain Mr. Mark Waid.
Well, Mark Waid, he is definitely a white knight and a male feminist all the way. I've gotten in a bit of a back and forth with Mark over on another Facebook group called Comic Book Historians. Mark wound up having to apologize because he was shooting off. He blows up really quick, really fast.
He does.
And without all
unstable.
Yeah,
that's true. But don't be nice though, because Art is a big fan of Mark Waid.
Listen, I was just going to say, Mark is a fantastic writer. He's very talented. Very talented.
Well, you know what? I'll just say this on Mark Waid's behalf. He actually got me one of the killer. Like I look back on my career, it's the pinch me moment. I got to ink over what is it? The Spider-Man guy. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name right now. The guy that did the first Spider-Man.
Ross Andrew?
No. Oh my gosh.
Todd McFarlane?
No. The original.
Oh.
Steve Ditko?
Steve Ditko. Yeah. God, oh my gosh. I am so sorry, you guys. I blame
one of the founders of Marvel.
You are demoted from legend to master. How dare you?
Demoted.
Yeah, Steve Ditko. Okay, it's Steve Ditko. Yeah, it was a Green Lantern story, and Mark Waid hired me to ink over Steve Ditko. So that's the only. Well, that was really my only interaction with Mark Waid. But I have to go
anecdotal. This is just an anecdotal example. Mark plays for that side. I mean, that's the bottom line, and it was that way long before Richard Meyer decided to sue him.
Yeah.
Well, he's unhinged is what he is, as many of them are, which brings me back to the grinding of the post, right? These people cannot be communicated with, which is unfortunate because you can't fix something unless dialogue can be put out, right? But that's where we stand, and that's why so many of the politics beyond what we're talking about here with comic books cannot be resolved because you can't have a conversation these days, and until we get to that point, things won't get resolved. So,
but look at this post, this secret Facebook post from Alex right there, and think about this. Not only is she not sharing a link or a tweet link or anything like that where she got this information about the Simon & Schuster, she's just saying, "Hey, this is what I'm hearing. I don't like this guy because he's a terrible person. If any of you hear it, and yes, I've muted them all too, so I understand if you're not hearing, whatever that is supposed to mean. I don't care. She's basically saying, I want information confirmed before I call Simon and Schuster and commit this act, this very petty, potentially illegal act. And then she says, if you've been unaware of this trash fire, do not go back and Google it. Do not inform yourself about this situation. Just do my bidding and let's move on and let me cancel this turd. That's it. Could have given you any information about it, chose not to. I don't know all the comments. I can't get in the group. Okay. So I can see the video of Penny in the group and the screenshots, but I do not have access to the group. So, I mean, I could just pick her brain and say, hey, search for this person. Hey, search for this person. Hey, search for this person. But, what a rabbit hole. Could you imagine if I just said, hey, everybody, here's an archived version of the whole group. Enjoy. I don't have that.
Well, another thing I'm really interested about Alex DeCampi, because this is a name that keeps coming up and up and up, and it looks like a very smug and angry old lady.
She's got a very thin bibliography in the comic books.
That's my point. She's done nothing in comics. Why does she have such a voice when she has no actual participation, really? She's done 4 Marvel.
Predator 2? Come on. Archie versus Predator 2? That's seminal work.
Yeah, true. And she also did Archie versus Predator, so she did both of those. Good on her.
Chester, it's not merit based.
No.
So she's just the loudest and the most driven individual in the group. So you know what I mean? Like, you don't necessarily have to have the talent. All you have to do is be the loudest, and then have that leadership quality, and then people follow you.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying, Wade, I mean, he's unstable, but he has credentials. He's got actual credentials. Gail Simone, actual credentials. DeConnick, actual credentials, right?
Yep.
So
Mary Sue McConnick.
Yeah, and I don't know what this Bond villain dude is. I'm not really sure what that is.
A Bond villain, trust me.
Yeah.
So when we go back to the tweet thread that was posted to the secret Facebook group, one of the things that you see here is Tamara Bond villain saying they're also threatening to sue Mark Wade, him or someone involved, using some FTC regulation. Ha ha ha. They're delusional people, so I don't know if that's actually happening or not. Well, newsflash, it did happen.
Right.
But now here we go. Below that, it says Anna Warren Sebrian. The Bleeding Cool article says this. And one of the things that you'll see if you guys in the chat read the article on Bleeding Fool is that Rich Johnston is well networked with this group here, Women in Comics, particularly Alex DeCampi and a few others. And one of the things, if you decide to take a trip down the rabbit hole and start looking at Twitter threads and looking at people from this group and what they tweet and when, and this is pointed out in the article as well, you'll see a whole lot of tweeting and retweeting by ladies in the group. And essentially, they'll take one tweet and then a bunch of them will retweet it to make it look like, well, I shouldn't say they're intending to make it look like, but I would say that the
signal boosting it.
The effect is signal boosting, yes. So it seems to be discussed a lot more frequently than it otherwise might be if they weren't all in a secret group, trying to help each other spread the word, so to speak, about this and that creator that they want to take down. What you're
saying is these may be calculated attacks.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see later in the article how Rich Johnston is one of their allies, quote unquote.
And write for Bleeding Cool. Alex did.
Yeah, Alex DeCampi used to write for Bleeding Cool. And later in the article, you can see some really, in my opinion, vomit-inducing accolades that Rich gives to Alex.
Oh man, yeah.
Wow. Well,
wait, we've got to read this Alex DeCampi. It's like, okay, I found the Bleeding Cool article. I'm just going to do some quiet behind the scenes stuff. Pay no attention to the gal behind the curtain. So like, this is
exactly
like if you ever wanted something to hang you out to dry, you like your own words, like, I mean, we have the other ones as well, but I mean, this one definitely is like, yeah, this is what we're doing. It's just, it's coming right out and saying it.
I was doing a quick search here on Tamara, good estate dweller, and I am pretty sure it's a dude. I'm pretty sure it's a dude.
So Tamara,
at one time they identified as a dude. So you are.
Oh, okay. So it was a dude. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, though.
Yeah.
This person is very talented artist.
Very good colorist.
She's a colorist.
She's a colorist.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a colorist. Okay. Well, very talented.
Most recently,
very talented.
On the latest Alien 3 screenplay comic series for Dark Horse. Gets a lot of work.
Well, I just didn't really know who Tamara was.
Yeah.
But very talented.
Colorists frequently get overlooked. It's unfortunate part of the
She one of my favorite books of 2020 in 2019 was Once in Future. Like Gillen and Dan Mora and Tamara Bonvillain. Bonvillain, sorry. And I mean, obviously I've told my story a few times about her, so I have no way to communicate with her. But I always went out of my way because she was the colorist that took over for John Ranch on Wayward. And he had created this sort of a palette that world existed in. It was very, very, different kind of quality. And then when she came on, she kind of mirrored it and followed it. But by the end of Wayward, she had made it her own. And it was, like you say, colors get overlooked. It was like 3 times better. And that's really hard to do because, and Wayward was one of those fringe books that did, okay and stuff. And it had its full run, made it to its last issue. But I was always one to tell her, hey, great job on this. Or I'd see something and I'd say, you're doing excellent on that Wayward book and this and that. And then she just freaking turned on me. And that's ridiculous. Because she turned on me for not liking Gwenpool and Spider-Gwen. It's dumb. Very dumb.
Well, as you can see, they're part of a team, and they got to stick up for each other. So
a freak team, if you will. Got that Twitter legitimacy now.
Yeah. Okay, so is this the puke-inducing?
No,
Joe?
No, this is where she's going after Max Bemis, and Max Bemis, as I mentioned already, he's no friend of Comicsgate and no friend of people who don't toe the progressive political line. He's got TDS as bad as anybody, but here they are going after him. I think what happened is you've got people who are in Comicsgate and others that just sort of have backed away from Alex. It's like, look, this girl's nuclear. I want nothing to do with it. I don't even want to cross paths with this black cat or this unburnt witch, or maybe that's one of the other ones. So now they're just going after the ones that remain in their orbit. I mean, Max Bemis is one of them. Trust me, except he's got something swinging. So it's interesting that it's ladies and non-binary folk. Here's a bunch of direct messages I had with this poor man who has mental health issues. Okay, I was wondering if she was going for the Deadpool that Zoe Quinn's got going. That if she could embarrass him enough, maybe he would consider hurting himself. I mean, that's the kind of women we're dealing with, man. What's that?
Oh, I was going to say, that's what it sounds like here. When I read this, I was like, oh my gosh, Max, stop it. Because, he's like, he basically bends the knee to her and then she just destroys him. And then on top of that, he's still like way more respectful than he should be towards her. Almost like gushing over her. Mm-hmm. It's actually just sickening.
Crude people might call him a simp or a cuck. I just say it's sad and pathetic behavior. And here she is sharing these messages with all 443 women in the group.
Yeah, this is how much she respects you, Max.
This is gross.
And Art, if you scroll down a little bit, she does the same thing to Colin Bunn. and a bunch of these ladies chime in, and then Tamara Bonvillain down the thread says, I stopped following him, this being Colin Bunn, just recently because I saw him following one too many people in that Comicsgate orbit, though I don't remember who specifically at the moment. So here's just a very specific example of how you don't have to actually have done something bad or even questionable to one of these ladies. If you just happen to follow one or more than one of the quote-unquote wrong people, then you're on their hit list.
Yeah.
And let's just back up for 1 minute, okay? I don't agree with everything my wife says. I love her to death, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life with her and, all that. But we do disagree. Everybody disagrees, Whisper Network. Everybody does. It's okay. It's okay to do that. I don't know where when that trigger was pulled and when they decided that everybody has to be in complete lockstep agreement with them, or else they register them as like they're against us. We used to call this in the day paranoia. This is like paranoia to the nth degree, that if somebody just likes somebody's tweet, then you register them as a villain, as somebody that's out to get you. This is clinical. This is paranoia.
And let's break that down for a second. Can you scroll back up to where she says that about the orb? There it is. So I stopped following him recently because I saw him following one too many people in that Comicsgate orbit. And what the Comicsgate orbit is you can be following anyone from Ethan Van Sciver to Doug Ernst, from Mike Miller to Tim Lim. It doesn't matter if from Doug TenNapel to Art Tyber to Bleeding Full to Bounding into Comics. And there are people that follow our social media that may have never heard of Comicsgate. I'm not sure how, unless they've been floating on CBR their whole lives. But the fact of the matter is what's being said here is there's no attribution other than they follow one too many people in the orbit. And number two, here's how you know this is from a private group, because Tamara actually says Comicsgate. You'll notice on their public social media accounts like Twitter, they don't say Comicsgate. Yep. They might say CG, but that's about as far as it goes. Gail Simone will call them those gators, right? Mm-hmm. But they will never use the actual label. That's how you know this is from the private Facebook. These aren't publicly accessible social media posts. I can't believe all the people that came back to us having maybe they read it during their 5-minute smoke break on the phone and just thought, oh, we've seen these. And yes, we have. We've seen this kind of vile public attacks on people they don't like on social media. But what you have here is you have this, you call it the Mean Girls Club all you want, or the girls go in the bathroom to talk about the bad men. But what happens is, and what I commend Penny for, is she shows you, here's where it happened privately, and then here's what happened publicly. So while we don't have the actual smoking gun, the security video of this person typing this message here, walking over the computer a year later and typing that message, and then everything blowing up, we don't have that. We do have much more of this. So,
yeah. Well, Joe, do you notice that FanSpeak never gets any respect? But actually, could you go back up just a touch there, Art, please? Thank you. No, down. Down. Okay. Here we go. This Janet Harvey here. I don't know who this is. Probably just one of their members. But Janet Harvey says, "Well, at least now I don't have to feel like I should read all those collected 6-gun editions." Mm-hmm. How do you think these people actually read comics?
I think some of them do.
Well, Janet wrote Angel City on Oni Press, or she does write. So she's a writer that works. She works in the field.
But one of the things that, if anybody is bored enough to do enough research on enough of these ladies, I think what you might notice is that they tend to read the same type of thing because it's approved by their whether it's their secret group or their friends outside of the secret group, I think you tend to find that they tweet and retweet and signal boost each other over the same types of things over and over. And I don't know how many of these ladies, and I when I say I don't know, I really mean I don't know. I'm not implying anything. I don't know how many of them would be what we would consider long-term comics fans or well-read comics fans, in the sense of reading a lot of different material over a lot of different time periods.
Yeah, I bet you they don't even know that Steve Ditko was the first artist on
Probably not. Certainly, probably not.
Truth,
Yeah.
preach, brother. Now, let me say this. I mean, you see just above Janet, that's Kat Staggs, and she is a co-creator. She was the artist on Wonder Woman 77. She's done a lot of work for Dynamite, Star Trek, Star Wars, Wonder Woman, Smallville. She's gotten a lot of work. And here's the thing. I don't know if you guys are members of any groups that are on Facebook where you have to be invited, or it's a closed group, but I am. And I know that you feel like you can speak freely, right? And potentially I've said one or two things in one of those groups that look bad. What's interesting about her comment is ignoring this only makes it go away for you, right? It reminds me of if you not wearing a mask puts me at risk, right? So if you don't join in with our witch trial, you're hurting everyone. Those in the crosshairs still get hit, and if you can ignore it, you're just privileged, right? So basically, being shamed to get engaged with what we're trying to do here is the way I take it.
Yeah, I took it the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Poor Booster. He tried to. My co-host tried to stand up and promote FanSpeak with me there, and the chat absolutely obliterated him.
Oh no!
Oh no! Sorry.
A lot of people in the chat tonight. That's great.
Yeah, it is great. But like you said, Chris, like we've been talking about, is a lot of these women are working professionals. I mean, they're in the industry. They're making money. So I don't understand the level of anger here. Like the industry just treated them so poorly. A lot of them are movers and shakers within the industry, as powerful as you can get in the industry. And to be honest, I mean, if they're complaining about working conditions or deadlines or money, that's something else, because we're all, underpaid and overworked in this industry. So,
I mean, it's the art, right? I mean, And the thing is, again, I go back to this. Could you imagine if we were looking at a lot of other professional creators' names saying all this kind of stuff about women?
Yeah, crucified.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
One of the things that is clear here is there's a lot of influence peddling in the comics industry, and this secret group is just one example of many where, fortunately, thanks to Penny's reporting, we get to see specific examples that prove it. Mm. If you're not one of these insiders, it's difficult to try to relay to somebody who's outside of it exactly what's going on here, because it just seems absurd.
Yes.
To anybody who's not in the middle of it, this would seem ridiculous. And you almost have to see it in writing before you can believe that there are actually people doing this. Oh, and not just a one-time or maybe a two-time thing, but many, many times over a long interval.
Over years.
Over years, if not. Well, and those of us who've been around for a while knows that this kind of the whole idea of having cliques within the comic industry, that goes back decades.
Sure.
That's true in any industry. But the specific targeting of individuals for destruction within the industry by their peers.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how far that goes back. It's chilling just to think of it. But the fact that we have written proof of it now, even though many of us have known about it for a long time, this is where I think Bleeding Fool deserves the kudos for Penny being able to capture this stuff, show the receipts, quote unquote.
Yep. The receipts. That's a good, that it's almost like we all knew Bigfoot existed. Here's some film and very crisp in focus photographs for you. You can still choose not to believe it. I mean, I guess we could have spent weeks and hours faking all this. I mean, it's not as though these are actual CGC peeled from the Twitter page and stamped with some sort of authenticity. Yeah, I mean, there are things that you can fake, but these are legit. This is happening. This is real.
Well, also, the reason why is because people have been talking about this, different YouTubers for years now, and there has been people that have said, we think, or this seems like this. There have been people that have said basically that there's got to be some kind of whisper network, because that's the only way these things make sense. This cancel culture, these things, these kind of, they almost seem planned attacks and things like that. So, like you were saying, either you guys are just great storytellers and tapping into the folklore, or this is actual fact. So I tend to think that those people that have speculated on this in the past, I think they're credible. I do think they're credible, and I think that your website is credible, and that Penny is credible here too. So I really do believe this. And it's if you look outside of the comics industry, you see the same kind of behavior in Hollywood and even in politics right now, the cancel culture. So why would we not believe that there would be something like this that exists?
So it was a conspiracy theory before, and now we're just showing that it's truly a conspiracy.
I have a question.
Go, Jeff.
May I ask? Oh, thank you. My question is, I have been told many times over the past so many years that women are not allowed in anything, particularly comic books. But you are telling me, by showing me this information you found, that there are a lot of women in comic books.
And this is just an example of the women that are in this secret comic book group.
Yeah.
It's not even, it's almost 500, and that's not representative of the entire female population within the comic book industry.
Yeah.
Right. And to be honest, how many people actually work in the comic book industry? A few thousand people, maybe?
That's what I was
not a lot. It's a very small industry.
Yeah, it's not many.
Yeah, and based on my real experience, I've worked for just as many female editors and art directors as I have male. So I've worked with female writers. I've worked with Gail Simone in the past. So I never ever saw what has led up to the anger that it seems like that these women are, using to fuel the fire, or like where the industry has just turned their back on them and treated them very, very poorly. I don't see that. And once again, they probably say, well, you just don't know because you're not a woman, or you've never lived my life. Well, I do know what it's like to be treated poorly. I do know what it's like to be fired. I do know what it's like to be, told that my work wasn't good enough for this book that I was working on, or the talent that I was working with. So I can relate on all those levels. And aren't those the only levels that matter? Those are the only criteria that really matters. So if I wanted to kind of get my dander up, I could say like, oh, well, it was personal. They did this because of X, Y, Z. But then I
would certainly why.
Why? Yeah. But then I wouldn't grow as an artist, and I wouldn't, you got to toughen up a little bit to a certain extent. You have to be able to move forward in this industry, because not everybody's going to coddle you, and not everybody's going to treat you with kid gloves, And that's the reality of the situation.
Chris, that was a DNA joke, just in case you didn't catch it.
So why?
The thing that's interesting about what you're saying, and just to kind of step out a little bit, this week I noticed a lot of people kind of making comments about Joe. What's the lady that did the Harry Potter books there? Rowling.
Rowling.
Yeah,
Rowling. Now talking about how she's the only woman that's ever been successful. Just going on and on and on about and they do this all the time, saying that women have never gotten opportunity before now. And of course, it's absolutely ridiculous. Talk about writers. I don't know. Let me name just one famous female writer, Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
1800s.
Yeah. Well, 19th century. But it's insanity. They're trying to rewrite history all the time. That's one of the most infuriating things to me, being a historian, that they're literally trying to rewrite history. Now, this is a very standard thing. This is straight out of the Communist Handbook. This is what they're told to do. And don't think that these little girls here in this whisper group aren't somehow associated with all this other Marxism that's going on, because they are. Whether they truly understand it or not is not the point. They have signed on. They have hitched their little trailer to that thing that's moving through the country. That what do we call it? The BLM, that alt-right group. Yeah, them.
Yeah, the thing is, we talk about it on Pontificators, and I love Mary Shelley, and I bring her up all the time, like science fiction and science horror. I mean, like, you talk about two genres with one story, like, that's pretty badass, you know? And the feminists don't even use her as an example, you know, like she created an entire empire, you know, based on that one story. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, they just want to beat down. It's weird because like the feminist movement, and I know, you know, I'm a male, so I'm probably use my privilege and stuff. But, you know, there was at a time, like, they fought, they wanted equal pay, they wanted equal opportunity, they wanted all those things. That's noble. That is very, very noble. You know, Ms. Magazine putting Wonder Woman on the cover, you know, things like that. But then it kind of went like modern feminism, or what do they call it? Third wave feminism now. They just want the man to be destroyed. Like, pure and simple, they just want the man to be beneath them. And they don't care what they do. If they lie, they cheat, they change the playing field to get there. And that's what I'm seeing, because if Gail Simone just wanted to be treated like anybody else in the industry, she would put her head down, make her deadlines, write her stories, and then just keep moving forward, you know, which is what most of the industry does. She wouldn't be doing all these other things. But I do believe that she has an agenda, and that she wants to hurt people along the way. She wants to push all the men aside to make room for the women. But you have to acknowledge there are men in the world too. You can't, you know, I mean, like you keep saying, Chris, like, how would the shoe be on the other foot? Like, if it was the other way, yeah, nobody would be okay with this. Right. But yet we have proof that this exists, that these women are mistreating mainly men. They're not going after women with this cancel stuff. They're going after men.
It's misandry. Let's just label it.
It is.
I'll say this too about the whole situation, and just from my perspective. Now, obviously, I'm a cis white male, so I've got my own inherent biases that are going to prevent me from seeing the full picture like God can see. But as I look at this, you're absolutely right about everything you just said, particularly with Gail and others who have really made a name and are really prolific in this industry. Isn't Gail kind of the creative CEO or whatever of, not Humanoids, but what was that other, Lion Forge or something?
Lion Forge,
I think that's fallen apart since, but she is considered a very serious person and is a big player in the comic book industry. Her name carries a lot of weight. So when I say that, what I mean is, she is doing this. It almost feels like she's sort of monetizing her gender, if that makes sense, because number one, you see that they aren't going after other women. And number two, the further I get back from this and I look at what's going on, it almost looks just like what you said, Art, that they're trying to get rid of the men in the industry. And there are enough useful idiot men, okay? You could maybe label Max Bemis one of those guys, okay, that already kind of roots and cheers for them and is a male feminist and so on. But just like all guys, most of the time, naturally, we're driven by our bodies, you know, our emotions, our physical needs, hunger, shelter, sex, things like that. So it's easy to play on those weaknesses that men have. And there are women that do that. And there seems to be a combination of women who are trying to continue to climb the ladder for themselves and also manipulating people. It would be very surprising for someone to come up and tell us that we shared some private messages when they were commenting on the private messages that Alex DeCampi was sharing with 443 women in the industry. Could you imagine if you were sharing the private, embarrassing messages of some woman in the industry with every other man that worked in the industry you were in? If you emailed it to all of them, I think HR would want to hear something about that. If
Sure.
it were me, I don't know what you think.
Well, you mentioned misandry, and of course you're right, but it's also misogyny, dude. They're trying to cancel women too. Recently, who we've seen in the news, Judy Bloom, freckled Jews lady. They're going after her.
J.K.
Anne Rice, right? Anne Rice, right?
Yep.
Well, and she's the ultimate gay man writer. So all her books about gay guys, right?
Well, they're also going after them because they're not fitting the narrative completely. They're going after them because they're veering from their narrative. Because J.K. Rowling is actually saying there's something wrong here. Like she's actually kind of trying to course correct.
Women aren't women. And
but
they don't mention Mary Shelley because Mary Shelley does not add to their narrative.
Jane Austen is another one that they go after, right? Agatha Christie, Virginia Woolf.
It's either intentional or it's ignorance.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, dude. I don't know why but they seem to want to make sure that they cover every thing that's on the plate, whether it be from misandry or misogyny. But the one thing I've noticed is the worst actual misogynist that's been going over the past few years are feminists. And that is shocking thing, but it is a truthful statement.
Good point.
Well, people in the chat are bringing up Scott. Wait, I just missed
Scott Snyder.
Scott Snyder, yeah. So you want to jump to the Scott Snyder stuff since we're talking about like even men that are trying to support their cause?
Sure. Okay. We showed Max Bemis. We're skipping past Declan Shalvey. There's a reference to him if you read the article, how that Max Bemis is, quote, supposedly clueless as to the plight of these lovely ladies in this secret Facebook group. And then it's talked about how Declan Shalvey is another one of them, and that, they really, they can't be trusted because their solution to those quote unquote Comicsgate people is to ignore them. Which you would think that if a reasonable person disagreed with what they thought CG was about, you might expect they would ignore them. Well, that's not enough for Tamara Bonvillain and Alex DeCampi. And so those people are also chastised. But if we go down here to, let's see.
Is this Scott Snyder of this is recent, June 25th, 2020?
Yeah, that's when they put up their pledge, right?
Yeah, that we mocked. I'm so glad we did the other day on Pontificators. By the way, we all actually pledged in a mocking way to what we're going to talk about in a minute on the show. Yeah, we put our hands over our heart. Yeah,
we took down this pledge about this comics saying no. I think on the Pontificators, we all pledged to say no to this ridiculous nonsense.
Yeah,
I did.
So here you, if you're not watching, you're just listening, I'll just quickly read. Scott Snyder says, I pledge to say no to abuse, harassment, grooming, and manipulation of women and all people of marginalized genders, sexes. Are you with us? Take the comics pledge with me. And it has a graphic of the men in comics saying no. And then Alex DeCampi replies to him. This is June 23rd. This is cute, but 1, we don't believe you. And 2, it goes way beyond this to things like speaking up and using your privilege to push change when you see that nobody of marginalized backgrounds are being hired as creators by a particular office, or they're only given quote unquote token books.
Yeah, they do that to black people all the time. It's really hard.
Let me say, okay, so first of all, Alex, number one, she didn't just reply. She sort of retweeted with her own commentary about what she thought of it. She could have surely she could have just sent him a message directly, right?
Yep.
But number one, she says, she mocks him. Then she says, you're a liar. And then she says, and the only way I'm going to believe that you're not a liar is if you start making sure that who I consider to be marginalized people, whoever that may be, maybe it's Max Visaggio, the person who just had their own sci-fi network channel or show. That sounds very marginalized to me. But we want you to get them really serious books like Batman or The Flash, not Dazzler reunion comics. And so no token books. We want them hired as serious creators, right? Like Eve Ewing got for Ironheart. So she, number one, she thinks first she mocks him, then she calls him a liar, and then she says the only way I'm going to believe you is not that you're going to say no to grooming and manipulation. I should hope that all men should say they're not grooming. I mean, whatever that is, precisely, it's whatever they think it is. Just like harassment, it's like this vague term. I'm harassing people right now. There may be people watching the live stream who are triggered this very moment at me saying these things.
Nonsense, Chris.
Well, I get that feeling. The hair on my head is standing up.
No. Well, I think she's right, though. I certainly think we haven't got enough Asian representation. Fuksum guy definitely needs a heads up.
No problem.
Come on, dude. Come on now. Roll with it, baby.
You can give him the heads up, Chester.
We left Chester hanging there.
That wasn't awkward at all. So
No.
I think what I mean to say is that Alex has no problem doing a rallying cry for the pile-on. Do you know what I mean? To someone like Scott Snyder, who is a very well-established, very well-liked, very powerful creator. Now, I don't know if she's ever done this to Jim Lee or Joe Quesada. Joe would probably bend over for her, or Tom Brevoort, but they're all very active. But because Scott's got a real voice, and to me, I don't agree with what Scott's doing here. I mean, I'm not interested in abusing, harassing, grooming, or manipulating women of any kind. No, it doesn't matter which women. I mean, I don't want to do that to men or women, really. But to take him to task for this, it's just gross. It's ugly and it's petty.
Well, what it is it's like Scott is kind of rolling over and showing his underbelly, right? So he's actually kind of feeling like, well, I'm going to join in. I'm going to help your cause. And I'm going to be a little vulnerable here. You know what I mean? I'm going to put this out there, and then Alex DeCampi takes advantage of it.
Well, he smells blood in the water. It's like
exactly.
I'm going in.
There's a little weakness there, and then she just goes in and like that's cute. And then just to also what she's talking about hiring and token books and stuff like that. I'm sorry, man. I've done token books. I've done good books. I've done everything in between. What the fuck are you talking about, Alex DeCampi? Get off your fucking high horse. Yeah. We all need to make a living. I've done crappy books and I've done really, really great books. So if you have a career in this industry, you know the ebbs and flows. And you know that, 1 month you could be working on a really crappy book and the next minute you're working on a top 10 book. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. And then also to insinuate that Scott Snyder can hire. Scott Snyder is not editorial. He's not in a position to hire anybody, Alex DeCampi. Right. He might be able to put in the good word for you, but not with this attitude. You think he's going to say anything nice about you and your cronies after you humiliate him like this? He's not going to put his neck out on the line for any of you guys because you just humiliated him publicly. Like bees with honey, right? Like you could be a lot nicer. You could be a lot sweeter. You're going to get a lot further with this guy. And like you said, Chris, do it privately if you have a problem. You're humiliating him publicly here, and then you're kind of asking him for a favor. Like, what the hell?
I'm not even sure. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's never worked for DC or Marvel. How does she know anything about how it works?
Well, this person clearly knows nothing at all, Chris.
Well, unless she's been in this group, because she certainly is friends with Gail Simone. Do you think? Do you think Gail endorses this kind of behavior about her coworkers, harassing Gail's coworkers on Twitter?
Seemingly. Mighty Joe makes a comment over here. He says, "How is being trained properly grooming?" Well, it's an interesting thing because we're seeing a lot of complaints coming out, especially this third, or some people want to call it fourth wave of feminism, involved in the workplace, all workplace, right? That includes comic book. That men are not mentoring women at all anymore, and we don't understand it. Really, really.
Do you remember? You remember when the vice president got mocked for saying that he would not meet privately with any woman other than his wife? He won't have dinner with them or anything, and he was mocked, saying that was old-fashioned. Well, this is the kind of behavior that motivates men to act that way and to set those sorts of boundaries. Precisely that reason.
Yeah. And it's ridiculous. I mean, they're not helping the matter. They keep compounding it with things like this that are just making men more and more unlikely to be involved with them. And what you're going to see, and we're already seeing it, is more and more of these men in the comic book industry just doing some kind of minor virtue signaling to get along, kind of like we saw with Scarlett Johansson, right? She clearly doesn't believe in any of the nonsense, but she has to virtue signal a little bit just to keep working. And it's kind of a ridiculous situation. These people are being held hostage.
Yep, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's true. And I just know that just being on the inside, at best, what Scott can do is he can make a suggestion, like maybe bring this person in for writing or whatever. But also the thing is, this used to be like standard rule. I don't know if it is as much now because we just have people being hired by diversity standards alone, by check mark standards, but not based on merit. One of the things is, and this works for any job, you don't want to really recommend somebody unless you feel like they can do the job, because you're putting your reputation on the line to sell that person to the high ups. And if they screw up, that looks bad on you. So if you just go like, oh, well, this person is guilt tripping me on Twitter, I want to get them a job, and then they screw up, that's going to look really bad on you. So, there's a lot involved here versus just like what we would like to do or what we want to do. If you are good and you bring yourself to Scott Snyder's attention, why in the hell would he not want to recommend you? I say this all the time. This level of discrimination does not exist in comics. Okay, I know this for a fact, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why. I'll cut through all the bullshit. Okay, is if you can make the company money, that's it. Male, female, whatever, based on merit.
Non-binary, if you can sell.
They don't give a shit. I'm telling you right now, the corporations don't care. They don't care about any of those things. They care about the bottom line. I know things are changing slightly, so I'm talking a little bit old school.
Yeah.
But that's how it has always been, and that's the way it always should be. And also, if there's any kind of like illusion that maybe women aren't as prominent in comics, they don't go for these positions. They don't want to work in this industry. If you look, and I'm not being sexist here, if you look at most women in the comics industry, they're married to a guy in the industry. Mm-hmm. Most of the women that are in the industry know somebody or are either like seeing the guy or married to the guy or whatever. I mean, all the way even to Louise Simonson before she was Simonson. And I'm not casting shade. I'm not. Louise Simonson's a beautiful person. She does great work. It was still merit-based, but she was married to, Jeffrey Jones. And then she was married to Walter Simonson. Yeah. So these are two really prominent comic book artists. So I'm not saying she did any of these things like she was crafting somehow, meeting these guys and trying to get her way into the comic industry. But it's just a point I'm trying to make that most even notable women, by and large, know somebody or are related to somebody in the industry. Gail Simone, there are always exceptions, but this doesn't exist to the level that they're alluding to. Women just usually don't want these jobs. They just don't. Just like you could probably find more female veterinarians than male, or find more flight attendants or nurses or whatever it is, that more women tend to go to those jobs than men do. The thing is, what we try to do as a society is we just try to make sure that if a woman does want to get into the business and it's more male centric, that she has a fair shot at it.
Right.
That's what we strive for. We strive that door's open to anybody that's good enough to do the job. That's it. That's it. There's no other criteria that should enter into the equation.
Well, it seems like they're just targeting. It seems like these women are strictly targeting white heterosexual men.
Oh, they are. Most certainly they are.
I have not seen one yet that did not tick all three of those boxes. Now, I would be delighted to be proven wrong. And you mentioned Louise Simonson. Louise could do the job. So they're not going to put somebody in there because they tick some boxes, right? That there's some sort of diversity thing, unless they can do the job. Now, I think they've hired some people who can't do the job. For whatever reason, mistakes get made and bad hiring goes on every day, or bad hires happen. But what we're seeing is some of these people who I consider a bad hire, and I don't know these people personally, but I consider them a bad hire because the work they're producing fails. And yet I think Richard has said it best, they fail upward. It's like
they do all the time.
Go to Marvel. That sucks.
Let me take a moment because I just want to clear the air because I want to make sure that I'm understood. Deadpool Gage, I am not saying anything about Louise Simon. She's definitely married.
I know.
She is genius. I've worked with her in the past. We've hung out socially. She's a sweetheart of a human being, and she is a talent to be reckoned with. So I don't want to
more of her.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Well, it is interesting you're mentioning meritocracy there. Just the thing as an aside, when I used to, a non-comic book related, but none of this stuff is actually new to me. Because when I was still in the States in the university system, this kind of thing happened all the time. It's a very different alien world than the real world back in the 90s, right? Or early 90s. And we saw a lot of this virtue signaling going on, people getting positions they didn't deserve simply because of whatever they were. So this thing is not new. Now, I live here in Japan. I don't have to deal with that anymore. But this is not new to me. I saw this before, and here it is again. It's just at a more open and outrageous level. So one of the things that's definitely killing us is the university system. It is teaching over a couple of generations now this type of virtue signaling nonsense, the fact that you're special. And that's one of the most destructive and abusive things you could ever say to a child. They're not special. Don't tell kids they're special, because you have to work your ass off to be special, and they should try. But quit telling these kids they're special. And that's why you're seeing all this spoiled attitude going on, because that's what it is. It's entitlement. And like I said, this has been going on for a long time.
And it's entitlement across the board. All nationalities, all sexes, all religion. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like this is a non-discriminative playing the special card. What do they say? The participation trophy generation and stuff like that.
That's why our culture is the way it is right now. To be honest with you, there is no merit reward.
No. Yeah. And we're going to, I'll tell you right now, I'm just going to project it. And then I also want to just also kind of go with like maybe how we can fix it, or also what you're going to do next with Bleeding Cool with the articles and stuff. But I do think that we are doomed as a society, a nation, a country, a planet wide, because this is not just an epidemic really here. I mean, it's kind of bleeding over in a lot of different cultures and countries, that we need to make these things merit-based. We need to bring that back down to merit-based, because then there's going to just be complete and utter stagnation, and then people are just going to be bitter and angry because they're not flourishing, or the promise is not being met, or whatever is the disillusionment. Because if it's merit-based, then you do realize that you have to work your ass off to get anywhere in this world, even if it's just a shitty-ass apartment and a beat-up POS of a car, which I had and most of us have. I was not born with a silver spoon. Everything I got, I had to kick ass and I had to work my butt off to get. So if it looks like I have privilege, you know what? Screw you. There's absolutely no privilege here.
Yeah. That's true. And let me give an example. I remember back when I was in the professorship program. They had this girl who I don't even think was interested in anthropology at all. but for some reason she was in it, and she was on the program with the rest of us, right? But in that program, you're required. It's part of the doctoral study, right? You're required to be able to speak a minimum of 7 languages for philology specifically, right?
Wow.
7, right? And all of us on that could do that, other than her. She couldn't even do 2. But yet she was on the program. How? It's the university's requirement that you speak 7 to be involved in the philology doctorate program. But yet she was on it.
Well, you know what we have here in California is it's with Hispanics. If their grades aren't quite what up to standards, that there is a what do they call that scale in teaching? What is it, Chester?
You're talking about the that stupid arc thing they used to use?
Yeah, there's a sliding scale.
Yeah, the sliding scale. Yeah, it's a horrible idea. It was a horrible idea.
Yeah, so they think that they're being fair minded by saying, okay, since you're Hispanic, we're going to treat you with kid gloves, and we're going to make it easier for you to get to university. We're going to make it easier for you to go to college because you're going to be judged on a different criteria than other people. Well, this does nobody any good. It doesn't do society any good. It doesn't do that individual any good, and it doesn't do their craft or their profession any good, because that poor person is not going to be as well trained and as well knowledgeable as that other person that hit all that criteria.
Sure.
So all their career, if they happen to have enough tenacity to make it, all their career they're going to be behind the 8 ball, because they were never what they should have been to begin with. So their whole career, their whole life is going to be trying to catch up because they were always behind from the very get-go. You're not doing anybody any favors. It feels good at the time, right? It feels good like, oh, we're trying to help these, just people in general. But it doesn't even do that individual any good.
Well, the bell curve is communism.
The bell curve. That's
bell curve.
Yeah.
Art, I can tell you care, though, and that's the thing. What you'd like to see is a solution. What you'd like to see is a solution, and that's really, when we first started uncovering some of these creators years ago, acting disgustingly on social media with other creators and with fans, the whole idea of showing that off was not to, well, we're going to ruin your career.
Right.
They're doing that themselves. What the hope is that they would go, oh my gosh, am I being that ugly? Is that really me being ugly to these fans, that just have a legitimate gripe about not wanting Iceman to suddenly out of nowhere be gay and be written very poorly?
Yeah.
So what I think the idea was that we would, I don't know if we added to the reason that DC came out with their social media policy or Alterna, but if you ask me, that was the goal, was to get people to stop acting like a-holes to other people and let's just do some good work. Let's make comics. They're for everybody. Right.
I think, like you said, hold up a mirror. And I just want to say, within this comics industry, nobody has any problem with homosexuality. Nobody has any problem with diversity.
Yeah.
Comic books have always been filled with that. The biggest issue that most people have is when, like you said, with Iceman, he was never that character. And then you shoehorned an agenda and you projected onto this character something that never was there. So if you want to create a gay character, or even a gay character that's made of ice, you know what I mean? Like if that's what you want to do, well, then do it. Nobody's saying you cannot.
And imagine the contrast they could have had if they had maybe a gay villain. I don't think they do gay villains, but if they had a gay villain that also had ice powers and was able to overpower Bobby and contrast and make you root for the gay villain over Bobby the Cad. I mean, who's the immature Cad. I mean, they really could have done some interesting things. And I constantly see, obviously we're backseat drivers, or we're, it's hindsight, or we're able to sort of do the Monday morning quarterback on all these decisions.
Right.
I've heard guys give a really excellent dissertation about Riri Williams, as a matter of fact, being a supervillain. And the way that
Richard.
Yeah, and I can't stand the way Brian Michael Bendis writes. I don't like any of his stuff, and he uses the exact same formula over and over and over. I get it. You are the father of 2 adopted black girls, so now every character you mess with just about has to have some kind of black girl insertion. I get it. I understand it. But
you should rethink that. Black girl insertion. Probably not good.
You think it. I just said it. I didn't say it by
fair enough
about it. Okay. So I know what you're trying to do.
This is what Chester does, by the way. So he's not singling you out. He'll attack.
You remind me of the old men that I used to love that sat up in the balcony during the Muppet Show.
Oh God, I haven't had such a great
You are that guy in the Muppet Show. Yeah, you're one of those old guys.
Statler and Waldorf. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, awesome.
That's brilliant, Chris. I'm going to use that every episode.
Oh God,
here
we go.
Well, we need to know: is Chester Statler or is he Waldorf?
Yes,
I'm Waldorf for damn sure.
Waldorf, I think, sure.
Yeah. You know what you got to do is get one of those green screens, and then get one of those Muppet Show backdrops and put it back.
Sure. Yeah.
Put him up in the balcony. Yeah,
that'd be funny. But it's actually a little bit worse then, because you're talking about the situation with Iceman, right? But in many ways it's worse, and a lot of people don't look at this angle of it. We've seen a lot of characters everywhere, but let's stick with comic books, where black people are getting these hand-me-down characters. They're just making them black. They're not making original things. They're just giving these old tired things. Hey, let's try it again, but now with black people. Yay! It's ridiculous virtue signaling. But with the Iceman thing particularly,
it's insulting to black people.
It is insulting
to gay people. I mean, if you read it, certainly. It was awful. It was awful.
It was. But the worst little insidious thing about it that hardly anyone mentions anymore is the fact that he wasn't gay naturally. They had Jean Grey make him gay.
Yeah. I thought you were supposed to be born that way.
Yeah. So did I.
Well, just to elaborate on what you're saying is that as a creative person, writer, these are not character traits. Like that's like saying like he's a white male. That's a character trait. That's who he is. That's not who he is.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, so like being black then is a character, or being homosexual is a character, or non-binary is a character. That's not a character trait. That's just, you know what I mean? Like it's a
physical attribute. That's a physical.
It is, but
that's it.
You could make a story around it, but that's not what it is.
Character is. Yes, you can. You can write yeah, exactly. You can write like about their lives, but that's another thing that they don't do. They just say these things, like they have like a Middle Eastern woman or whatever, but they don't have like how she fits into society, like how her family structure is, and how like how the difference in the culture is, because then it would be character, and then it would have to take some time to write it and to look into it, but they don't do that. So they just slide in for virtue signaling. Yeah, it's a gimmick.
It's a gimmick, and it gets them a press release, and then it gets them on USA Today, and then it gets them on the morning shows on Monday, and they're all talking about it. The very first this, the very first that. It's ridiculous, but
I'm waiting. And they're usually wrong too, Chris. It's usually not the very first.
No, that's true. You're absolutely right. When they made the big to-do about Captain Marvel, I wonder why Disney ignored the very first female Captain Marvel who happened to be black. I think that the thing is that you have people, it's all about a political narrative, that it's an agenda. It's agenda driven. It might not be driven by everyone associated with it. And I'm sure there are some people that might be referred to as useful idiots who are very intrigued by the ideas that are coming out. Oh, this sounds very interesting. Oh, they've never done this before. So are we going to be cool when Superman decides he's going to come out as non-binary? Well, you better be careful. If you criticize that, you might get your YouTube channel shut down.
Well, Bendis now said that like the Kents are Jewish because their creator was Jewish. So now he's projecting all this stuff like based on Siegel and Schuster.
Wait. Is he Jewish?
Who? Bendis?
Yeah.
I don't know. He better get off that damn book.
Because only a Jewish person can write a Jewish character.
Yeah, that's true. But the thing is, like, he's virtue signaling like on the behalf of like two creators, and he's he's projecting that somehow the reason they didn't do it at the time is because of the societal norms wouldn't allow them to do it. So now Michael Bendis is going to right this wrong and virtue signal and help, like in an SJW social justice, warrior. He's going to go out and he's going to save the day. Well, let's just back up.
Yeah.
I think they created exactly the freaking character that they wanted to create. And who the F are you to like second guess the creator's motivation? What if somebody did that to something you created? How would you feel about that?
It's even bigger than that, Art. Superman is the largest icon of any created character ever.
Right.
He is Superman.
Yeah.
He's been to the White House.
If he had on the Family Feud, named first superhero, biggest superhero in the world, Superman's going to be it. The Kents weren't Jewish. They didn't eat kosher. This is ridiculous, and Bendis is a hack.
The Kents were Protestants, I think.
They certainly were.
Well, it was Middle America. It was Middle America with everything that implied. It implied they never went, we're going to go to church every Sunday, and this is our religion. They never really said those things, but it was always implied the location. And by doing that, what they were trying to say is that the morality, it was a shorthand way of saying that the morality of the Kents and their location, that they were going to raise a child that had the power of a god to respect humanity and to do the right thing. And that's it, man. There's no deeper meaning there. Like, if you're reading any more into it, then I think you guys.
And besides, I do think I've seen in several issues in the Kent house the footsteps little pictures on the wall, isn't it? I'm pretty sure I recall seeing that. There's a couple little things in the background that show off their religion. They just don't deal with directly. But the hackery is on complete display, going back to what we were talking about with that earlier. Because, talking about if you're going to add a character element like, say, homosexuality, and go to actually try to make it part of the story, well, they completely fail. I mean, let's take a look at Daredevil and his Catholicism. That is an integral part of the character, built in beautifully, I would say.
I agree. I've actually I went through a phase where I was collecting the Archie Comics Spire issues. There's like 30 or 40 that were put together by Al. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name now, but
Al Roker.
No. And they were all Christian. I mean, you had Betty praying, you had Archie praying for his meal, they had the devil, they had everything. It was absolutely born again 70s gospel Christian comics. I don't know if you guys know about it, but look up Archie, Google it with the word Spire. It's crazy. And there was a Flash cover. There was a Flash cover, not from the Archies, but in that same era with Flash on the cover, on his knees, praying to God to help him get his powers back. They had Superman on the cover trying to drag Lois Lane out of hell as demons were pulling her into this fiery pit. Now, religion is verboten now unless you're attacking it in comic books today. So the fact that Brian Michael Bendis is coming out to say that they were Jewish, I mean, I don't know, whatever.
Well, Dean Cain was correct when he was saying that they wouldn't even let him say, truth, justice, and the American way if he was playing Superman today. And then Tom King had that ridiculous, not even getting into religion, God forbid, pun intended. But then after Dean Cain says they wouldn't even let me say truth, justice, and the American way if I was playing Superman today. And then Tom King comes back and in a very crude, profane way says that he put that in a comic book. Well, yeah, but when you were called on it, it's obvious that it wasn't Superman you had saying truth, justice, and the American way. You had Sergeant Rock talking about that stuff, not Superman.
Right. And
Sergeant Rock, of course, was this throwback from a bygone era. So if you got called on it, then you could always, write it off as something from the past. But you're 100% correct, Chris. It's one of those things that when they're called on it, they're not even intellectually honest enough to say, well, it used to be okay, but now we're not comfortable with it, so we're not going to do. They don't even.
Right.
Well, the
They don't
thing
even
I
own
want
up to it.
right, they don't want to own up to it. But the thing is, this is the problem too, because the paradigm or the world that they're creating, they can't do certain things anymore because they've just kind of screwed it up so badly. Because a writer could a Jewish writer could write a Christian character.
Yeah.
A white person could write a female character. A female writer could write a male character. Like, there wasn't this kind of stupid childlike mentality. Like, everything has to line up. Like, if you're white, you have to write white characters. If you're this, like, you can only write these things. Well, how are we going to get any other perspective? Like, isn't it more interesting if a woman writes a man? Like, then we can get some kind of insight on what she thinks, you know, or
an honest argument, Art. You know this. You know it's a straw man argument for them to say that only a black person should write a black character. And the reason you know it's a straw man argument is because you know that the only reason they're saying that is they want to take the job from whoever's doing it.
Yeah,
there's a reason, there's a motive. Yeah,
there's a motivation there. It's a selfish motivation, and because I never hear them ever say anything about a female writer writing anything at all. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah,
they don't do it unless it's J.K. Rowling writing something that they don't like to read.
And what did she write? A young boy. That's the lead character. Well, how the hell does she know what that's all about?
Well, let's be fair. She wanted to write a book called Hermione, but she knew it wouldn't sell. Now, Dead Punk Gage here.
She's a retcon queen, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. Dead Punk Gage says, I believe I read recently that they made Muslim for the upcoming film. Now, I'm actually looking forward to it. I like the actor who's going to be doing the reboot of Blade. I think that's cool. But we're talking about how they're taking people who are straight, making them gay, making women, men, women, changing races, all these kind of things. Now, that's all arguable, and we can say how rude and disrespectful it is to the people that they're changing it to. But how about changing a person's religion?
Yeah.
Right? Because Blade is clearly Christian, Catholic, I do believe, because we see him many times in the comic book crossing himself, right? Especially when he's getting his holy water or what have you. So it's, why would you do that?
Muslims,
why is that okay?
Is it does a crucifix work if you're a Muslim on a
that's what I was gonna say. Like, traditionally, the way those things work is it's like, yeah, it's Christianity that overcomes the devil, the demon. That's like that's that story. You know what I mean? Like, now you're bringing another religion in, and maybe it could be interesting. I'm not saying it couldn't, but it doesn't work with what is the word
with
for
Blade? Well,
there's certain canon. I mean,
there's certain genres. There's certain genres that work with
cosmology. So the word
that work with certain storylines, and so you're playing with that. And I'm not saying it could be good or interesting. Maybe at the end he does convert to Christianity.
But why even do that? Why not have Blade the way Blade was created, and another character come in that happens to be Muslim and is maybe a super badass? And not half vampire. Why couldn't we have that? I
right, could. Yeah. And of course, if he's going to be Muslim, then why doesn't he just fight the jinn, right?
Oh, that's an interesting comment. You could actually introduce the jinn to the Blade mythos. I mean, you could, and it would be interesting. And you wouldn't hear me, and you probably wouldn't hear any of the pontificators except for Waldorf there complaining about it. I got one in. I did it. Yeah.
Now Chester has another name. So Chester Cornelius Busby Waldorf III, cousin
of Jennifer Connelly.
Oh
no!
I saw that in the chat. I think.
No.
Now he denies it.
No,
we're not going there. Well, good thing for you that Bob is not in the chat today, or else you would probably have a hard time.
Art, you're the one that's in charge of what is shown. It's your
I couldn't help it. I had to do it.
Are you? Do we have any good comments that need to go in?
Well, I've been chatting with people, and a lot of the last few minutes has been talk about how it's just ridiculous that a writer can't write a character who does not look like them. And there's comments such as Leg Kick One saying Hulk has to be written by a 7-foot tall, 1,000-pound Green Man. And Christopher Priest, Dead Punk Gage says Christopher Priest said he stopped taking Marvel calls because they only offered him black characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I had mentioned
they
that
Ta-Nehisi Coates, one of my favorite characters, Captain America.
a white man
Utterly destroyed it.
Oh God, don't get me on freaking Coates, dude.
No,
and then Dead Punk Gage.
That is a disgusting human being, is what that is.
It's a
These guys are the creator of Blade. Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan, to my knowledge, are not black. LOL.
Good one, leg kick. Yeah, and do you think that's why they're trying to make She-Hulk more masculine so that a trans writer can take over? Do you think that's what's going on there? Because I'm a huge fan of She-Hulk, but I haven't been for the last couple of years because they've totally trashed that character. Totally.
Possibly.
She has fallen far away from the John Byrne era, and I know John Byrne's not a very nice guy, but I did.
But he's a brilliant storyteller. I love that man.
Yeah. Well, but Marv Wolfman did work with a black artist, though, a really good one.
Let's back up for just a minute. Okay, we brought up John Byrne.
Franklin Graham.
Most of the people in the industry know he's an asshole, right?
Yeah.
But they don't crucify him. They acknowledge it, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever, and then they still give him work. You know what I mean? They can separate the guy's personality from the work. They know that his work is going to sell, so they give him jobs. You know what I mean? So you can still be a jerk and not get canceled and still make money for the corporation. You know what I mean?
Do you think we need a secret Facebook group where we talk about what an a-hole some of these creators are and we try to cancel them? Is that what we need to do?
Why not? You know what? Fight fire with fire. And you know what? Everyone knows that 2 wrongs make a right, Chris?
I heard something like that.
Come to Fanspeak, www.fanspeak.live.
Fanspeak.live. I always thought Sticks and Stones was the real deal, but apparently words do hurt these people. Words
do.
Are triggering. Words are violence, and they've got to use them. This, just to kind of sum up what we've talked about, because I can't stick around much longer.
We should start wrapping it up.
I appreciate you guys reading the site. I appreciate you guys supporting the site. Thank you for your daily donations to our PayPal account down in the lower right-hand corner of the website. You guys are also generous. I appreciate it. And you want to be like these guys. I'm kidding. Nobody donates to the website. We're not getting anything like that. This is the labor of love.
I was actually going, that's good. Chris is being taken care of and he's being looked after.
We pay for our own bandwidth and hosting and all that kind of mess. So this is kind of a labor of love. I know there's been times when I've thought, do I want to keep doing this? But we've got so many contributors who are adding to the discussion, some that agree, some that disagree, that I disagree with, some that I agree with, and some that just want to play around and talk about, current topics, or guys like Robert Willing, who just is a comic book nerd all the way and just loves to gush about comics and makes the cheapest videos that he can, really. I mean, that he can get away with, the best that he can do, but it's just fun dealing with some of these people, and a lot of them have some strong opinions, and some of them, like I said, they just sort of love the entertainment industry and the comic books. So thank you for giving us the support, and thanks for reading, and thanks for sharing. And there's lots of other sources out there too that I know we've mentioned. And of course, you got a great YouTube channel. You're kind of saying the same thing. I know we're not alone. I think that to me, when I first started the site, it was, am I the only one that thinks this way? Surely not. And I heard, a few people on YouTube. And if you go back to those early 2017 archives, you'll see that almost every third article was really just me summarizing what a YouTube person said and then embedding their YouTube channel, because I enjoyed what I was hearing, and it made me feel, as an individual reader of comics, DCBS customer for a long time. Those are long boxes all back here behind me, and OTNs and trades over here. It made me feel like I'm not the only person that thinks this way. And once we started the site and the traffic started coming in and the comments started coming in and the accolades and the hatred, we get as much hate mail as Heather Antos does, I'm sure. But it tells me that there's a lot of people out there that think the way that we think. So we're not alone. And you guys on this show are giving a voice to those people. I mean, all these people chatting. I know it's been tremendous, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. And if we take anything from this, you guys, there's sincerity here, and at the very least, we're just trying to get some normalcy. It's just a minor pushback to get to some kind of normalcy. That's it. We're not trying to save the world or anything. And so if there are things that you disagree with, and that's fine as well. But you have to know that there's no malice here. And that's, I think, the biggest difference is, like, we're trying to just get a voice out there and get some kind of pushback, but not in the same way, not in the same destructive way as the other side. So I do appreciate you putting your neck out there, Chris, and everybody that writes for you and contributes to your website. I do appreciate it. And we are going to go out. With the celebratory Florida Man big old push for you guys.
Yes. Yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, this book is still...
Real quick before you do, Chris?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
I don't get any hate mail at all.
What?
You know why?
No.
Because I have spandex-clad ninja to throw at them.
I don't know.
Is that what they provide in Japan for all?
Yes. They're my neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Also, you'll sick them on them?
That's right.
You just point? You just point and then they go take care of business?
Oh, yeah. They'll Naruto right across the oceans. It's awesome.
Go take care of Todd.
To be fair, there's only 5 or 6 sock puppets that give us hate. I mean, it might only be one person.
That's true. That's true.
They misspell the same words. So,
so it's the same person.
I don't know. I mean, we'll see. Who cares? It's all fun. I mean, it's grade school. And to your point, real quick, Art, I will be glad when this kind of immature, petty, unreasonable, ugly, gross behavior stops.
Hey,
listen. As soon as Chester stops, I'll be a happy man. But even there are men who are misbehaving, and there are clearly, as I think we've shown, women who are misbehaving. And I think the misbehavior, it just needs to, let's cut it out and let's start doing good comics.
Yeah, because it's not exclusive. It's not exclusive to a nationality, a religion, a sex. These attributes are across the board. There are assholes everywhere. There are great, brilliant, loving people everywhere. So they're not all in one area. You know what I mean? Like, all Comicsgate isn't filled with hate. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Seattle, San Francisco, Portland, LA.
I'll go to LA. It's nice weather.
It's nice weather. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have the bubonic plague again. That's nice.
Well, nobody's on the beaches. They're wide open. Enjoy.
Yeah. There you go. Take a vacation on the beach. Yeah. And
hey, let's look at this Florida man. This is Todd. This is the reason that Todd, he's probably been drawing pages the whole time, I think.
He probably has been.
I have.
He's good. Todd,
it's your time to shine, my friend. I'm going to play the video for everybody, and then just go ahead and let everybody know what this Florida man is all about.
You'll need sound.
Let me turn it up. Yeah.
Now,
can you hear it now?
Yeah.
Yep.
Bringing quintessential Florida man, Gary Tuba, to life. Gary's just a regular guy living in a trailer with his girlfriend Crystal, but he's got dreams, big dreams. He just invented house suspenders that will secure any home to the ground in rough weather. And now he's going to show them off on Piranha Pool, the TV show where venture capitalists and entrepreneurs pony up if they like your pitch. But when his gal Crystal gains notoriety as an infamous amateur wrestler, she quickly advances to the pro circuit where her greatest challenge is an angry Australian grappler. Follow Gary and Crystal on their extraordinary journey from rags to riches, to rags to riches, to rags to riches, all while dealing with shady lawyers, toilet snakes, wild gators, cheating hearts, feral hogs, and problem shoppers. Back Florida Man today and reserve your very own copy of the Florida Man graphic novel. We're bringing back funny books, y'all.
Perfect. All right, Todd, you're up.
Well, the video speaks for itself, right? I mean, one of the greatest videos on the internet for comic book trailers. So, what's so funny? Why
Who was laughing?
I've been doing this all day, though. This
I
is
know,
the third
man. Oh,
show.
it's beautiful. It's a great video. I appreciate you saying it.
Yeah, but it speaks for itself, right? If you want to know what Florida Man's about, come watch the video, look at the tiers. You can back in at the lowest level and grab anything that you want as an add-on. Our character, Gary Duba, is the quintessential Florida man. We're leaning into those tropes, hashtags, and memes. It's as if he did all these things, all those weird Florida man stories, syringe in Florida man's butt. He claims is not his. Doesn't know how it got there, kind of stuff. So
that's not in the book. That's not in the book.
No, that's not in the book. Obviously, that's one of the more silly ones. But
there's not one but in this book.
But it definitely, it's gonna grab you and pull you into the narrative, and you're gonna die laughing. Just so we hope that you back it if you haven't already. I know I see some people in the chat. By the way, I see a guy in the chat. His name is Blue Samurai Zero. There isn't anybody that spends more money on independent comics than him. He is probably the king of CG comics too. He gets all the projects. Very good backer. Thanks for being in the chat. And if you haven't backed it yet, please give us a shot. Mike Barron, 30-year veteran of the comics industry, never written a bad story, in my opinion.
I'll tell you right now, Mike Barron's been in the industry longer than 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
Like 36 years.
It is 36
he predates me, yeah.
Yeah, he definitely has been in the industry for 36 years. Creator of Nexus and Badger.
Yes.
Two of the huge independent comics that kind of put independent comics on the map. Yeah. Nexus hit the top 10 in sales in the 80s, and no other independent comic had. So, Mike deserves this. Mike's an incredible, prolific writer. 15 novels, 300 independent comics, 100 mainstream comics. You're definitely not going to want to miss this.
Inkpot winner, dual Eisner Award winner.
Yes.
Yes. By the way, Mike has been in the industry 46 years.
That's what I was going to go there, but
we don't want to age Mike. And that's back when Eisner was legitimate. I mean, just thought I'd mention that.
So just to clarify, that guy's going on 50 years. I'm going on 40 years. That guy's going on 50 years in the industry. That's awesome. And then to come out with a gem like this,
a gem.
Oh, shit, man. Holy shit. And you guys managed to take it from 56 to 64 pages. That's because of your brilliant backers. And why don't you guys talk about some of these killer tiers you got here?
Go ahead.
Listen, okay, so we hit 300% today. 300% funded. Today's a red letter day where we just want to thank all the backers. It is my name on the project because I'm sort of the one that has to correct all the misspellings and basically do all the Excel spreadsheets or whatever. But we've got a great tier. The featured tier is growing in popularity there. It's the Beach Party Bundle. And as Todd is fond of saying, it is the whole kit and caboodle. If you want the Florida Man full Monty, that's the way to go. You get it. You get the physical copy of the book, of course, because everybody needs to get the book. You get this lunchbox, which is a definite throwback to our Bronze Age fun. You get the digital version of the book. You get the T-shirt, which looks a whole lot like a Florida Gators T-shirt. And you get, what am I forgetting? There's a whole bunch of little goodies in there too that we're not talking about that are in there. Let me just click on it real quick just to look.
I got it here. Okay, so you get the Florida Man digital version. You get the Florida Man prose novel PDF. You get the Florida Man print version, T-shirt, lunchbox. You get your name in the book, you guys. A special thanks. You get the beach towel, and you get 5, not 1 postcard. You get 5 Florida Man postcards. So this you guys, this should be 100. You should have 100 of these sold already. I think also this is really a decent price for everything you get. And I did hear Todd early on talking about that you have to sell a certain amount to justify some of these print runs, like on the beach towels and the lunch boxes. So I'm hoping you guys got to that point that it makes sense.
We did. Thank you, Art, because you know how these things go, and you know these things aren't cheap, especially in a very low run. Could you imagine having to print 15 graphic novels? I mean, how much would you sell 15 graphic novels for? I mean, it would be, these towels were the same thing. We hit that threshold last week because you can add the towel on. You can just get the book and the towel. You don't have to get the whole kit and caboodle, but once you've selected a perk, you've got all these, or once you've selected a tier, you've got all these other perks that you can add on. And you can add on the postcards, 5 postcards to any perk. And
yeah, if you guys don't know how that works and you're a first time backer, you click on the tier, and then in checkout, these add-on perks will show up. So what Chris is saying is, at that point, you'll see T-shirts, you'll see postcards, you'll see lunch boxes, you'll see all those things. Yeah. So when you click on that, it'll just add that to your order at checkout. So it's a relatively new feature on Indiegogo, and I'm still trying to figure out how that all works and what to put in there. So if there's anybody either that's an old school Indiegogo user didn't know that, or people that are just doing it for the first time, that's how it works, and that's what Chris is talking about.
Yeah, I didn't know how it worked either myself. Over on Bleeding Fool, every Wednesday we have it's New Comic Book Day. Traditionally, Wednesdays are. So we promote 3 crowdfunding comics every week, and so we've done this 95 weeks in a row now. So almost 300 creators or projects at least. And so when Mike Barron first said, can you help me do this? I immediately dove back into those archives, because there was always the question, what are you learning, or what's your advice for people who are crowdfunding? And I always just sort of asked that just naturally as part of an interview. It really wasn't me going, I'm going to collect all this Unimind information and be the ultimate crowdfunder. No, that wasn't it. But I went back and looked at some of the more respectable, or at least the winners, the ones that were doing real well. And there's a couple things that we just couldn't feasibly do. Some would even say, have the whole book done before you ever even start your crowdfunding. That wasn't a reality that we could be in. But others were doing these retailer tiers, which I like. The retailer tier, in my mind, is the best one. This was Todd's idea because he's from Florida. He's built us a freaking beautiful information list of all the Florida local comic shops.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so we're going to include, Todd had this idea to do a point of sale stand and a poster that they could put on the window. And I'm talking out of turn here because we don't mention this in the perk, but that's what we're going to do. And it's really the best deal, because if you buy those 6 books, you pay less than $17 a book. Now you can add on 1 book to your first book for $20, but if you go in with, a few other people, you can get it for as low as $16.77 or something like that per issue. So I mean, it's the greatest discount there is.
And I imagine you save a little bit in shipping too. So if you were to order 6 copies individually, your shipping would be more expensive than getting them all at the same time. So this really is a great tier. And if there's any retailers out there listening, these are great. And like Chris said, if there's you have friends that are into, great, funny books, then you could actually give these out as Christmas presents, or like you could give them as birthday presents or whatever. So it's only 6 books. I know I have 6 people right now that I could give, 6 copies of.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. We're hoping to hit right now. Todd has got a sort of a schedule of production with him and the colorist and the letterist. So the goal is to have them in hand in time for people to get them for Christmas. So November is sort of what we're shooting for. I know we've kind of said December here, and internally we're kind of saying October, but we really want to hit that sweet spot and be able to let people, like you said, make these stocking stuffers. They'll be really cool, especially for your Florida family members. You got any family members that are from Florida, this would be a hoot. And it's funny books. Mike's written a story here that unfolds like a Rube Goldberg machine. I mean, it's not just pratfalls and sight gags or one-liners. It's really something that builds up and builds up and builds up. And then there'll be a panel or a line that is said that you just start laughing because it's situational, but it's been layered and built all throughout. And so you can't help but laugh. It just catches you by surprise out of nowhere. Taken out of context, that couple of panels wouldn't be as funny, but having read the whole thing, it really is riotous. So when Mike tells you it's going to make your head explode, he's not kidding. He's written a very tight story here. And Todd, I know he's probably said this to you guys before, but he was a Nexus fan. So this is like a dream come true for him. He is living the dream right now with a book that he only makes more money the more we sell or the more backers we get. So it's a dream position for him. He's doing the best work I've ever seen. That cover is in my top 20 covers. So I'm just thrilled to be on the team and being able to make any kind of claim to any ownership of the book at all, just have my name attached to it. I'm excited. Mike Barron's a legend. Todd's doing great work. All this imagery you're showing is him, except for the Joe Comstock outside the liquor store bunny rabbit fight. We've got a couple of pinups that are going in that we haven't showed off yet that we got to get colored, but we've got some really fun surprises. It's going to be a major event. I want everybody to get on board. And like Todd said, you know, I've spoken about a lot of things that I think from my perspective, my point of view, my philosophy, or even politics, if you will, but there's not a smidgen of that in this book. It is strictly hilarity. That's all I can say about it. It's just stupid fun. If you like to make fun of redneck hillbillies, or if you're a redneck hillbilly yourself, you're both going to love it. And at the end of the day, all these people, even though they do all these things and get in trouble and cause all these problems, they've all got hearts of gold. So it's a great.
Well, you guys just got 2 backers, so congratulations.
Hey, way to go.
417 to 419. 23 days left. How many days has this been up so far?
We started with 52 as sort of a DC Comics homage. I don't really know why we picked 50. I picked 52. Todd had a different strategy. I'm hoping to the comic book gods that my strategy still works. But we started with 52, so we're about halfway through it right now, and we are qualified to stay in demand if we want to. And so we're looking for a certain number. I don't really want to say what it is, but we're about halfway there. And we'd love to get to that number, and then everybody's going to walk away from this situation very happy, including the readers.
Well, I backed this book. It looks great, you guys. Continued success on it. It's a great group of people writing, penciling, inking, coloring, and of course with Chris overseeing everything. You cannot go wrong. So everybody go back. Florida Man. It looks amazing. Yeah, and I just appreciate great comics. I can't wait to read this sucker, because everything you guys have pitched is amazing, and it's right up my alley because I like matter of fact. I like drama that's just matter of fact, and I like humor. So this humor isn't like we're trying to be funny. It's in the truest sense of situational humor. It just happens. These are like absurd moments. These are like absurd and crazy situations that happen, but it's all organic. And if you guys think that it's all fabricated, just type in Florida Man, you guys. Just type in Florida Man, and you'll see. Life is stranger than fiction because there are Florida men that exist, and they're out there, and they do some crazy ass shit. That guy at the beginning of the video, that was real. That guy with that gator going in is like, got any beer? Like that dude is real.
A real Florida Man. And, it's blue comedy. I mean, I don't want to say it's not for kids. It's PG-13, but it's very close to that classic comedy type stuff of like maybe Animal House and stuff like that. It's nice. A bit of a throwback to that kind of comedy. And I think that we're missing some of that. I think some image books occasionally touch on it, but this is not superheroes. You jump right in. You don't need to know anything other than I've heard of Florida Man, and I've heard they did some bizarre stuff down in Florida.
Yeah, I just want to also Skits Comics, great couple doing an amazing comic book right now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so go check out their Indiegogo. I'm not sure where they're at in the campaign. Can anybody find that real quick? And we'll put it up real quick and give Michael a shout out. And is this Aaron Sparrow, hey brother, how are you, my friend? We got to get you on in a Pontificators because you have some stuff to say, and I like people that have things to say. Skit says, I am one of those Florida guys. I don't know, man. Maybe we'll have you on. You can share one of your Florida
Skits from
the Todd's Truth on the bottom
Skits
there.
the Knoxville boy. Is that what I'm hearing? Skits the Sun, book 1. Is that what we're talking about?
So
It sure
Jeffrey,
is.
did you say you have one? You have it here?
Yeah.
I can't see it.
Todd's Truth. My friend owns the biggest chain of comic book stores in Central Florida. I should talk to them about Florida Man.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought somebody had posted the link to Skits.
Here, I've got it right here.
Oh, perfect.
Are you able to see that? I don't know.
Albino's way ahead of you, brother.
I'll add it to the stream. So here we go. This is Skits. Yeah, there are 24 days left. So I think it just rolled over. So he may be doing like a 50-day type campaign or 60-day campaign.
That's
This
nice
is
art.
Yeah, nice paint work. That's nice.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Michael and his wife, and they're putting this together, and it looks like concept art, but very complete, very inspired concept art. And then he goes from different styles, like some of it's penciled, some of it's penciled and inked, some of it's colored up. It's really brilliant, and I think there's 3 different versions of the book. And each version has, there it is. If you keep going, scroll up. Yeah, there's 3 versions. So there's A cover, B cover, and C cover. And each one has, I believe, a conclusion, a different ending to it. So it's pretty unique, you guys. So go check out Skits Comics. Skits is a good friend of this channel. And I got to get those guys on again so we can promote that book because
it looks great.
Yeah, it needs to get out there. People need to see this. And also, you guys, I have a little book called Chrono Mechanics. It's in demand right now. Please check it out. It's in the description. Black and White is going strong. We are winding down on our days. So we're 8 days away from the campaign conclusion. We just got 3 backers. So thank you guys right now. I do appreciate it. We're at 405 backers. 25,351. So thank you guys so much for that. I do appreciate the support there. And also Black and White, Chrono Mechanics, and Florida Man are in the description. So if you want, just click on one of those, go and back one of these terrific books. You will not be sorry. Also, Black and White and Chrono, you guys, these books are done. They're printed. So we're going to be shipping these things out ASAP. So here's our proof copy of Chrono. So the proof is in the pudding, as they say. So thanks to everybody. Thanks to all my Pontificator brothers. Chris, you fit right in. Thank you so much for sharing everything. And as always, we have a parting shot, Florida Man?
I do. I have one. One. Of course, guys, go back Florida Man, go back all the books, Chrono Mechanics, Black and White and such. Of course, they're great books. I actually have Black and White, and it's really nice. I didn't get anything special in my book. I was a little bit upset. But anyway, no, I want to give a shout out to Chris. I mean, legitimately, on his, he's got a great website. There's a lot of good things on there to read about and get involved in nerddom in general. But I want to give him a specific shout out because he had an article in there on Ennio Morricone. And Ennio is the legend of Italian music cinema, particularly spaghetti westerns. And it's a very nice article. And I just got to give you a shout out because he just passed away. And a lot of people probably didn't even notice.
I know. Isn't that sad? And that was actually written by a guy named Arnell. He is a Yank. He's from the UK. So he's always writing at the weirdest hours. And generally, if you'll notice, we publish his stuff around 6:45 Eastern time every weekday morning because he writes for some other places. It gets him a little traffic to those two. I mean, he's writing for us not because he loves us, but because he's trying to draw attention to himself. But it's constantly filled with, that one's filled with, I think, 10 of his favorite
Scores, movie
thank
scores.
you. It's getting late over here on the East Coast, I'm afraid, for this
Yeah.
old guy. But
yeah, we'll wrap this up because I do appreciate your time and we are going a little long. So so thanks to everybody. Thanks for your parting shot, Chester. And we'll be back next week with another Pontificators. You guys have a great weekend. And thanks to everybody in the chat. I had a lot of fun as always. Take care, guys.
thank you.
Later.